Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
Don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is flat.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye-bye, moonlight and rover. Now so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Get the shovel for the spice hubble. Piecing up the puzzle. Need a buster bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah? Sit down and be humble. Got the ball, you about to fumble. You'll get mad cause at this fight I'm about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Bob to the president, Jeran got the evidence. It was laying Jesuits and Zack is evident. Dead to earth electric and it's resonant. Your resident is heavens and I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Bye-bye, moonlight and rover. Now so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster. But the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
Welcome to GLOBEBUSTERS. All right. Season 13, episode 2 started from the bottom. Now we're here. All right. It should be a good show. I am somewhat preoccupied, but we're going to pull it off. So let's go ahead and introduce the panel. First up, we got Jeran from Jeranism. What's up, bro?
What up, my buddy? How you doing?
You know, living the dream. And we got
Nice.
Zack from Good Times for All. What's up, brother?
What is going on, everybody?
You know, cool and kicking it. And we got Alan from Space Audits.
Hello, hello.
And you guys may have heard we also have Aurora and Shane is here. What's going on, brother?
What up, fellas? Good to be hanging out with you legends this Sunday afternoon.
For sure, man. All right, so I know that we do have a presentation that we'll do a little bit later. Shane's going to talk about optics, bottom-up obstruction, so hence the title. And yeah, all right, cool. I'm going to toss over to you guys. I think Jeremy have some stuff he wants to say as well. I need to go check on a baby, but I think you guys can hold it down. So I'll be back in a second.
Thank you much. Yeah, so I wanted to start by just saying thank you to everybody who's watched the show for, what's it been, 9 years, maybe 10 years at this point. I just really appreciate it. I mean, you guys are my family. I hate to have to duck out, but I'm going to, and there's multiple reasons for that. But really, I'll just explain simply what I've seen that has kind of made me take a step back and go, okay, I need to look at this whole thing. And that is really the idea of what the South Pole is. And where we were at 79 degrees south with a sun at 15 degrees at its low, 35 at its high. As I started to put that together, I kind of realized, oh, wait, so from where we were, without a compass, without a GPS unit of any type, I could have gotten to the South Pole. It was only 600 miles from us. I could have walked to the lowest part of the sun in the sky and just walked in that direction. And every 69 miles, the star or the sun would rise by 1 degree and lower behind me by 1 degree, which means in about 600 miles, I would be at a place where the sun was at 15 degrees constantly, meaning it just circled my head at the same height, which would be the place where the South Pole is. So in the past, I've always said that there was no South Pole, that there was multiple South Poles, a ceremonial South Pole, where going down to Antarctica, seeing the way the sun works there and comprehending what I was looking at tells me that the South Pole does exist. And so with that bit of information, I tried to wrestle with it to see, what could be other explanations for there being a South Pole where the sun goes right to left. And then if we kind of picture traveling to the North Pole, it would be the same thing happening there, but the sun working left to right. So it also coincides exactly with what I saw in Punta Arenas, which was a very high arcing sun with it barely below the horizon. And that was because we were, so kind of if you picture what I said about going towards the southern sun, if I would have turned around and say walked or flew towards the north sun would have gradually rose by 1 degree every 69 miles, which means if we traveled that 1,700 miles back to Punta Arenas, that's about a 25 degree, I guess, if you do the math on that, which would tip the sun up and then tip the bottom of the sun below the horizon, which is why the sun isn't seen for 24 hours in that place. And if I kept backing up and going towards the equator, of course, the sun would arc over my head and do a straight shot on the equator. And if I kept going to where I live now in California, again, the same arc of the sun is going to arc to where it's at the angle that I see it. And then if I kept going north, eventually it would pop out again and be above my head for 24 hours in their northern summer. So that alone, now people can ask about everything else. So what about we see too far? What about I agree with all that stuff, but there are in my mind disqualifiers, or there are what do you call it? It was the AE map to me was disqualified by what I saw. And so I know a lot of people have things to say like, well, what about other maps? Couldn't there be other maps? Couldn't there be? And I think that that's kind of a little bit silly, just in the fact that I think the continents are the way that they are. You can't move the continents around. They're just, I'm sure you can move it a little bit. Maybe Africa's like 100, 200, 500 miles somewhere. I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the layout of the continents has to be generally correct. The layout of the tropics has to be generally correct. We know that the sun travels above the tropics throughout the year. And so if we know all that, then with the AE map being debunked, because the AE map calls for a sun to go around the earth in the clockwise fashion, then it just got to the point where I said, okay, wait, so what are the other map possibilities? Now I thought that when I came back that there would be a good group of people that were ready to tackle the problem. And instead I saw a flat earth, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm saying maybe it's a small group, but I saw a group that had thrown their hands up and said it doesn't matter. Another group that said it was fake, another group that said I was a shill. And to be honest, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest with what I saw, honest with what I observed, honest with what I feel. And I don't think there's shame in that. And as much as it's going to suck to have to remove myself from where I was, that's just the honest truth. And if people don't see why, well, what can I do? My options are basically to stay around and to be arguing from a position that I don't really understand the map anymore. I don't understand how we're going to explain things, how we're going to, go up against the globe if I don't even have a map anymore. So I'm happy to leave the show in Alan's hands and in Austin's hands. They obviously still think that there is something here, and I get that, and I understand that, and I'm excited to see what they bring forward. But for me, I would feel like I'm not being honest with people if I don't be honest with people, right? If I don't tell you that I honestly can't see it working anymore, as far as the map, as far as the layout. And one of those things is too, a lot of people accepted this Stephen Alonso's model and Joe Hamby, and that's basically what I was getting. But even if you go talk to them, Joe Hamby doesn't claim to have it perfect, but everybody else does. And that to me was a problem. That to me is not a good map. For instance, I'm just saying that it seems like now that the globe at least explains the sun to me in a way that works, and the flat Earth cannot do that right now, at least in my mind. Now maybe somebody else has figured it out. It just can't. So I know that we can take like Shane's model and we can show how it would work on a flat Earth, but I feel like that is now making suns appear in places across the world. And that to me is like, okay, so wait, we're saying that the globe is wrong, even though it matches the observations, but the flat Earth is right, even though we have to move the sun to just magical places. And I say magical because there's no mechanism really. People are saying something about dome refraction or something, but I don't know what that is, and I don't know where they came up with it other than Stephen Alonso taking observations and then calling them flat Earth observations. Or I don't know if you guys have heard that all flat Earth models predicted the 24-hour sun. So what I either have to do is lie to people and pretend that that's true, or admit no models called for a 24-hour sun originally. Now, of course, when we go and see it, now everybody says that it was called for. So that's basically the gist of why I'm leaving. The South Pole to me exists. It was 600 miles from me. I could have gotten there without any GPS, without any compass. And to have it South Pole and then to know that there's a North Pole, I don't really know where to go with that, other than that to me, I was wrong about the flat Earth. So that's my position. And I guess I can look at the chat and see if anybody has any. Jeran, my conjecture would be that a 24-hour sun doesn't disprove flat Earth. Again, and I don't believe in proof, so I'm not saying anything is proof of anything. I think that we always want to keep our options open, and that's why it's good. I just can't, in good faith, stay on at GLOBEBUSTERS and be. I would have to be pretending that I understand the flat Earth, and I don't. I don't understand anymore because I did have a very specific flat Earth that I believed in. It's the one that works with observations. It's the one that works with airplane routes. It's the one that explains airplane routes in a straight line rather than these great circles that they show on the globe. The undersea cables, the no traveling in the south, the faster speeds of the boats in the north, and the slower speeds in the south of the Vendy globe, and these kind of around the Antarctic races. So the AE map was it for me, and I've known that the whole time. I've known that the AE map had to be the correct map of the world. So if that is no longer the case, and I guess I can't show, but there's a in my video, in my show that I did the other night, Friday night, I showed a section where I was talking about, I showed the AE map on the screen and showed the difference between what we observed and what the AE map shows as far as the Tropic of Capricorn. So the Tropic of Capricorn on an AE map is a circle, and it goes obviously to the right. If you're kind of, let's say we stand at the tip of South America and you're looking off at the Tropic of Capricorn as it goes off to the west, it would curve to the right. But what we saw when we were down there is conclusive evidence that it actually curves to the left. And we know that the sun travels above the Tropic of Capricorn. That's not a question. So if it curves to the left, not to the right, where is it curving to the left besides underneath a sphere and back up the other side? That's what matches observation. So to me, it's just I was looking from day one for 9 years for evidence of the globe. They couldn't provide it. And it was always something where I didn't want to trust other people. I didn't want to have to trust what I thought were known liars, who have lied about a model for years, who have basically been assholes about it for years, rude, condescending. I just didn't think there was any chance that they could be right about the shape of the Earth. And I still don't, I'm not still saying that they're 100% right. What I'm saying is that my model of the flat Earth is no longer viable. And so for me to pretend, I think it would be just that. It would be pretending that I still think, like, I don't think, like, Shane's model is great because Shane just took what we observe and basically put it on a flat Earth and then showed that but as far as a mechanism for that, I haven't found that. And I just think to say, well, I believe that the sun just appears where we want it to appear or where it needs to appear is not really being honest with what model matches best. If we're talking about what model matches the observations. So hopefully people get it that, and again, I'm not saying you have to believe me or trust me or anything. I always say, you test everything, look at everything, review everything. I hate that it took me 9 years to get to this point because I wish I would have done this a year after I started rather than wait this long. But every day that I wait from here on out would feel like I'm lying to people that have put a lot of time and effort into watching me or into conversing with me. And I'll still be around. I still have some stuff I want to finish off. I want to go through some of my old videos and just point out. And I get it. People may hate me and people may call me a shill, whatever it needs to be done. I mean, what am I going to do? Basically, the alternative would mean that I stay because I don't want to be called a shill. So then I stay and just kind of waffle. That doesn't make sense to me. So I get it. I know what's going to happen to my name. I know that there's going to be 1,000 videos about me. I get it. But my other thing is that I believe in evidence, and I believe that if like I would never say everybody give up the flat Earth dream, never, because if there's people who still feel strongly about it and think that they can come up with a mechanism or a worldview that includes that, then I'm happy that they're doing that, because I'll be the first one to jump back on and say, I'm so happy you guys figured it out, because there's so many other things, right? There's so many other things that I can get where people, well, why would you be okay with this just one observation? Well, it's because the one observation that I made includes the South Pole. And so I've never seen a model of the flat Earth that can include the South Pole that is one location. It can't be in multiple locations, or else the world's a paradox, because anybody who's in Antarctica who all started walking towards the southernmost part of their sun, we would all end up at the same place, which would be the South Pole. So could I have been tricked in some way? I don't think so. This is why I went on that trip. It's why I wasn't afraid of Duffy or afraid of the observation. As I said, truth doesn't, run from I'm going down there to look. And if they cheated, if they lied, if they faked it, I was going to be there to expose it. And they just didn't. They just went down there. They had predictions as far as what the sun would be doing. And that's what we saw. And the sun, I was able to burn it with a magnifying glass from the south, from the north. So to me, it is the sun. Any idea of it being refracted, mirrored, apparent, all those things kind of go out the window, because it is explained to me pretty conclusively. And hopefully people understand what I'm saying, that if you just kind of picture the hula hoop of the sun's orbit, right? And put yourself in where I was at 79 South, and just kind of picture that hula hoop's just tipped a little bit to where it's 35 degrees in the north, 15 degrees in the south. And now picture that you start walking towards the lower end of that hula hoop. It's just going to lift up until it's flat in the sky. At that point, you're at the South Pole. The sun's doing a circle around you. If you start backing up again, it's going to tip again and just kind of keep tipping that hula hoop. And then you'd be in Punta Arenas, where there's a high end and then a very low end that's going underneath the earth, and then keep going to the 90 degrees. At the equator, straight up and down, keep going. It's going to flip upside down in the north. And that's what we saw. I saw an upside down sun. I saw an upside down moon. And I saw a backwards moving sun. So those are hard for me to explain. And I knew that going down there. I knew that I thought that the sun would set. I mean, if you want to know the honest truth, I thought this was kind of the crowning moment. I thought this was going to be, so I thought they were confused. I thought that these guys didn't know. And I kind of also understood. I see like Dave Weiss and other people saying, we must have known that they wouldn't let you see it set. Well, yeah. And that's why I thought the trip would be canceled. I thought that they might try and do something or whatever, but the sun is the sun. I wish you guys could all go down there with me. I wish you guys could have all been right there, because you wouldn't have questions. You wouldn't be asking some of the questions I've been asked. Do you think it could be a simulator sun that was being carried around or anything? No, it's the sun. I mean, we all know what the sun is. And when you see the sun spots on it, it's the sun. And when you get the pictures back from North America, and the pictures that they show you are just a flipped image, as if it's been flipped upside down. When the moon came out in Punta Arenas, the moon was clearly upside down. Again, I know that Flat Earth has an argument for that I always repeated and understood, but it kind of ran out when I can no longer have a map. So I still have some things that work on Flat Earth, absolutely, but I don't have a map anymore, and that's a tough position to come from. And I just noticed that people in the Flat Earth kind of always kind of pretend that, like Steven, this is what we've predicted. Well, I'm not like that. I'm not going to pretend that I predicted there would be a 24-hour sun in the south. I predicted there would never be. I predicted the sunset. And so I think I just need to be honest with myself that I was wrong, that I don't think that, I feel bad that I maybe brought a lot of people down this road, but maybe at the same time, you've learned something, you've come to new conclusions, you've seen truth. I think we saved lives when it comes to COVID. I think that we have uncovered a lot, have taught people that the news lies, that the media lies, and that there is truth out there beyond what we're taught in school. It's just, for me, the globe Earth or the flat Earth debate. And here's another thing. I mean, I feel like truthers are very smart when it comes to left-right paradigms, right? They know not to get involved in that. If you ask somebody who's a truther, hey, what are you on the left or right? They'll be like, what are you talking about? We don't talk like that. It's the same thing where, it's basically their goal is to get us against each other. So I now see kind of flat Earth and globe Earth is the same. I think that the intent was to put people against each other. The government doesn't care what you argue about, whether it's racism, whether it's trans in sports, whether it's abortion, whether it's flat Earth versus globe Earth. What they want is us to get against each other, because I feel like maybe we waste time on something that isn't as important as looking up and realizing who's holding everybody down, who's stealing all the money, who's charging inordinate taxes, and then using them for basically to keep themselves in positions by keeping people on welfare and keeping people dependent on government. So I think this is another one, and I'll just say I'll never be a glober. Okay, what I mean by that is a glober to me is somebody who's just pushing constantly, making fun of flat earthers. I understand flat earthers. I think that it makes all the sense in the world to me when they went out and faked the Stephen Hawking observation, when they faked the Nat Geo observation. There's no reason why somebody should look at that and then not say, okay, I got to look into flat Earth. So the people that are globers who just ignore the fakery, ignore so-called science, that are faking observations in their proof videos, I get it, right? So I'll never be somebody who goes after flat earthers and calls them names or says that they're dumb. I think that they, or at least we have a bias, and when we do, we fit evidence through that bias. And so I don't know what it was that caused me just to remove that bias for just a split second, enough to see, oh wait, there's a South Pole. Okay, wait, how do I explain that on a flat Earth? And I just kind of kept crumbling in my mind. So I do appreciate everybody's support and love, and the people who've reached out and said nice things. And there's some people who've reached out and said, thank you for being honest, that they see it and they're going to remove themselves as well. And then there's people out there who have said they think I'm way off and I'm putting too much emphasis on one observation, and that there could be other explanations. And I get that. And there might be other explanations, but it makes it very difficult for me to teach from that perspective of, well, I don't have a map anymore and I can't really explain a lot of what's going on. Where do I go from there? So I don't want to be that guy that just waffles about. The reason I was in this is because I thought that they were lying about the shape of the Earth. I thought that I knew the correct shape of the Earth, and people needed to see it and hear it. And I still don't. People might ask me, "Well, do you think that we're spinning now? Do you think that?" I'm not saying any of that. I'm not saying any of that. This would be, if I ever built it back up. I'm just not sure I feel as important now. Meaning that I don't need to teach the globe. I don't need to. I don't need to push it off on people. We all learned that in school. That's what we learned in school, and so to me, I just will need to look into it further. But no, I don't feel like we're spinning, right? And I don't feel like we're on a sphere, and I don't feel like people are upside down. But that being said, I also don't feel like there's bugs in my tummy, and I also don't feel like there's bugs on my skin. Okay, but there are. So we can get a magnifying glass, and a microscope, and we can see that there are living creatures, little bugs in my stomach. So I don't think it's okay for me just to say I don't feel like we're spinning, and I don't feel like we're flying through space, and I still would bet that we're not. So I'm going to look into geocentrism. If anything, if it is a sphere, I would guess that it's at the center of the universe, and that things move around it, and that's the way it works. And why do we measure flat? Because I think that the sphere can be so large that everywhere you are measures flat, and that's why I think those things jive with me. So that's basically what I wanted to say. I apologize if anybody's upset at me and I know some people have even people that are creators, and even people that we know well, big names, have messaged me to be very upset about the way that I've done this. And they want me to, they're basically telling me to stay around and to take back what I said. And that's just not honest. And if people haven't followed me for 9 years or don't know, that I just cannot do that. So it's unfortunate, but that's basically it. Let me see if there's any more things here. Jeran has to go from the GLOBEBUSTERS channel. Yes, I'm going. I'm leaving in good hands. Alan's going to be taking over as a host, and I think Alan's put up some of the greatest presentations that I've seen. Some of the eye-opening things about whether it's the eclipse of 1919 or 1909, whatever it was with Einstein, and the the bending of space-time. And I mean, those things still, obviously I have questions of all that. But as far as them lying about the things that they say they're lying about, when it comes to it being a flat Earth instead of a sphere, I just find it difficult for me at this point to say around and preach that side when my idea has been debunked. And it's I think Alan did a great presentation last week, which kind of explained the situation. That I'm not saying that because I saw the 24-hour sun that means that the globe is true, because that would be a fallacy. But I am saying that because of what we saw, that the AE map is no longer tenable. And from there, when I look around and see these other options, first I see Lady Blount and these guys in 1900 or 1875 saying, "Oh, we do admit that the 24-hour sun does exist in the south, but we have no way of explaining it. But we stay Zetetics, who say that the Earth is flat because the water lies flat." And that was their position, and that's been from 1900 till now, so 120 years of basically people being flat earthers, but nobody ever coming up with any other map. When Eric Dubé showed up in 2014 with the AE map, again, it was something that was kind of handed to us. I ran with it because it works, and that's what I think the point of it was, is that if you look at what the globe says it's just squished out. So of course, everything that we see, the continents wise, would work. And so we ran with it, and I think that they hid things in the south. I think that they purposely didn't put those webcams up, just having those half-day webcams. It seems like, I hate to say it seems like a psyop. It does seem like a psyop. And if you look at 2014, The Principal, the movie, came out in 2014, started showing up in movie theaters and things like that. And then right after that became The Flat Earth, and The Flat Earth took over the conversation. And The Principal has kind of gone by the wayside. Whereas The Principal was the premier geocentric documentary showing that the Earth is the center of the universe, that the guys who said that it wasn't basically did it based on philosophical grounds. Edwin Hubble saying we have to stay away from the absolute horror of a unique position. So science is biased in and of itself, wanting to make sure that their Earth wasn't the center, so that they didn't have to believe in a creator. They could just believe that they're the smartest things that ever existed. So no, I still think that there is a creator, that the Earth is at the center, and how it all works, I don't know. And that's kind of why I'm backing out, because I don't need to be teaching something that I don't understand or don't get or don't have a map for. So,
Well, I can say welcome. This is how I've been since like 2018, man.
you've been there.
Yeah, like we can't measure the flatness except for optically, which has limits, right? So I don't know if it's perfectly flat. I know, I've done a lot of testing with electricity and statics and stuff like that, and water even bends. I mean, everything converts to 90 degrees perpendicular to the electric field. So that's why I got away from maps or models. After I did my sun research, I almost went insane. And that was studying the sun from where I was, looking at it through both models. And there's too many things that don't add up. The sky,
Yeah, it's
it can drive you mad, man. It really can.
David Avocado Wolf told me like 3 years ago. He said that, hey, Jeran, I'm done discussing that, the difference between the ball Earth and the flat Earth because it's irrational. And what do you mean by that? And he said, well, it seems like to be that the sky can only be described from a sphere, but the ground measures flat and level. So he just said that it's kind of like a paradox, or like it's irrational, and it might be that way on purpose. Maybe it's a way that we're never supposed to really be able to put a finger on it. I'm not sure. And I know people get upset at different ideas that I've kind of put out there. The Home Depot one, to me, it may be ridiculous to people, but when I just started thinking about, okay, let's pretend that we live on a sphere, just pretending, and we put a bunch of Home Depots everywhere, that wherever those Home Depots are, they measure level. And so it made me just think, okay, well, if I keep stacking them next to each other and it takes 17 to equal 1 mile, that in that 17 Home Depots, there's only 8 inches of curve, but everywhere on the Home Depot floor would be level. And so it just kind of hit me as like, okay, wait. So, and then I kind of started to see and understand how you could have everywhere that you're at measured level. And then I started to see, well, wouldn't that be awesome if God made the Earth a sphere, but everywhere that we are is level? Because then you can build, then you can fly airplanes, then you can build bridges, then you can build tunnels, then you can use railroad tracks. All those things I don't even think would be possible on a smaller sphere. But the Earth sphere seems to be of the size, if it is 24,901, that you would be able to put things on it that you would only need to know that it's flat. And planes would fly perfectly level and flat. So
Yeah, back then I quit telling people stuff and I just started asking questions. Like 95% of my videos, the title is a question,
right.
because I don't know. There's stuff I can show you that I can test and prove to myself to be true. But as far as knowing a lot of this stuff, I mean, it's going to take, like expeditions were only done by people that went to the king or the queen, royalty, and said, hey, I need a shitload of money and a bunch of people to help me go do this and figure this out. That's how something on this grand of a scale, that's the only way it can be done, with huge amounts of funding, with lots of people.
Right.
And we're not there yet. We're just not. Yeah,
No,
it's
and
been very frustrating these last 6 years for me, Jeran. Believe me, it's been
yeah, and I guess
hard.
I don't know if I want to, it's not, I don't know if it's a bias or why I felt so strongly about that map. It's just everything works so well, and then everywhere you look, you're finding new evidence that matches that. And so, I need to reassess all that and figure out why everything seems to match that AE map, except for the sun. The sun, Dave's app works great up until the Tropic of Capricorn. From that point south, according to the AE map, you wouldn't see the sun anymore. It should be behind you if you're facing south. So we flew down there. We saw the sun. It is doing what the globe says it should do, and I'm sure that people might not see it that way. I wish, like I said, I wish you could go down. And here's the other thing: is that the South Pole. I mean, let's say the 79-degree mark where we were. People can go there, and I know this sound. I sound like we've all heard before, but you can go there. It's you can still go there this year.
Yeah, that's not exploring freely. That
No.
isn't free exploration. That's, you get to come here and you get to go to this spot, and it's a huge spot. I mean, you guys got to fly around in a plane and stuff.
Right. That's it. It's not freely exploring. There's still not that ability to do that. And by what I saw, I'm not sure that would be totally safe. Anyway, there's lots
No,
of crevasses.
hell no, man.
Yeah.
That's
So,
like
yeah.
like
And so-
Austin was saying last week. Like when you guys were flying out there, like everything inside of him was telling him to turn around and go back. Like you see the nothingness in front of you that you're going into, and it's just like that. There's that voice inside of you saying, "Dude, you're not supposed to be here." Like,
Right. It seemed like that. It did seem
yeah,
like it's, kind of
this
the
isn't a place that is welcoming to you at all.
no animals, no birds, no bugs, no
No,
ants,
nothing.
flies, fleas, lice, nothing. They can't live there because there's nothing to eat. So yeah, it's it's if people could go down there, and I know it's $35,000 and people don't have that kind of money, but if you go down there and we talk to people that work there, and I think even Austin would admit that not at any time did we feel like any of those employees were lying to us. And so from there, because people might say to you, well, Jeran, how do you know the South Pole exists? Couldn't it be the dome there? Couldn't it be something, but we talked to people that have gone to the South Pole. They work there at both places. They just happened to be at ALE or at the Union Glacier at that time. And then we talked to that girl, Lizzie, who kind of became friends with us in the second half of the trip because she went down to visit a friend who works at Union Glacier, but then her friend got summoned to the South Pole. So she went with her and was there for like a day and then came back, and we were talking to her about the South Pole. So, I mean, she went to the place that they call the South Pole. I think on my channel, I also put out a bet to anybody, but I basically said, if anybody wants to go with me, I'll come up with money for my trip. You come up with money for yours, and we'll go down. And when the South Pole exists, then you have to pay for my trip. And I'm just kind of saying that because I now know that the South Pole exists, and the sun would just go around your head there. If it didn't exist, it doesn't. That's a paradox because everything so far works with the sun doing what I was talking about with the hula hoop. So why would it stop doing what we assume it does? It got to that 15, or what did I say, 1535. It just would have, I guess, and if I'm not trying to think of what time would it be, 2525? Yeah, I guess so. So at 2525, and that would change per the year, right? So what I mean by that is that it might be when you get down there, it's only 10 degrees high and does a circle around you. But regardless of the height of it, if it's doing the same height the whole way around, that is the South Pole. And if you start to move away from that direction, well, you can't move in any direction but north from there. And then you would start to have the northern part of the sun would rise up. So that's my position there. I get that it's not what a lot of people might agree with or want to hear. And again, I get it. There's lots of problems with the globe, and there's lots of problems with people who push the globe, and there's lots of problems with the global agenda. I can't get behind distances to stars. I can't get behind distances to the sun. Can't get behind a lot of this stuff. But what I can at least say to me right now that makes the most sense is, okay, I went and saw something that shows me that the sun can be explained if I'm on a sphere. And does that feel weird? Hell yeah. Like I said, people upside down underneath me can't really buy into that. But at the same time, I'm hoping you guys come up with something or find something. And my only advice would be to be careful about readily accepting anything that flat earthers say, because that's what I've seen is that people just all say, oh, Stephen Alonso solved it. Oh, Joe Hamby's already solved it. And I'm like, okay, well, let's be honest. I mean, he hasn't solved it. He's just showing a little idea. But I think what I've noticed is that flat earthers will just say that it solves it. That because they're just, I think we already feel like we were right. At least I did too. I felt like I already knew that the globe couldn't possibly be true. Flat Earth had to be true. And so if that's your take going in, then I think that sometimes you're going to allow things that you wouldn't otherwise allow as evidence. You would dismiss them. But because you're already in that line of thinking and you're already thinking you're right, then anything that somebody brings forward, you just get on top of. And other things that people show you, you don't pay any attention to or you dismiss. And I can admit to doing that. So it says, Jeran, you boarded a jet and trusted people that told you where you were. No, so Mark, I mean, it wasn't trusting people that told me where we were. That's where we went, right? So I had a GPS unit. We knew where we were. We saw what the sun's angle was. We saw where that angle would happen on a globe. That's all. So it can't be that they took us somewhere else. A lot of people think that, like, oh, they took you to a different. Okay, well, if they took us to a different location, then the sun would have to do something different, because the sun only does that at 79 degrees south, 81 whatever west. So it's not a matter of trusting people to take us. By the way, we flew from Punta Arenas south. You can watch my chest cam videos and other videos, and went for 4.5 hours. So there's, in any kind of world, in any kind of map that you could draw up, there's nowhere else you could go. We didn't fly out east or west into the ocean. We flew across a stretch of ocean for about an hour, and then we were into the Antarctic area. So if that is the outskirts of a flat Earth, which is what I thought it was, first of all, you would never have a spot where you could get to 90 degrees, like I'm talking about, right? Because there would have to be multiple ones. And this is why we always said that. If you always go back, we always said the South Pole doesn't exist. There's multiple ones. They just take you to a ceremonial place. But I no longer can believe that, because there is a place that I could have gotten very easily from where we were. And that's crazy to me, because I think if anybody would ever told me, you need GPS, you need a compass. And then I realized, wait, you don't even need a compass. I don't need a GPS. If you would have dropped me off where we were, I just would have kept walking south towards the southernmost part of the sun, meaning I could watch it every day. I'd go around. Okay, there's the lowest part. Start walking that direction. Every 69 miles, it's going to raise by 1 degree. That's a known thing. That's not questionable, really. You can go outside and test that tonight by walking, or not walking, but drive 69 miles, and you'll notice that the North Pole star will adjust by 1 degree. So the same thing is true of the sun. And if you just kept going, eventually it would balance out, and that would be the South Pole. So you have to see it. I mean, I guess nobody can really grasp it. I couldn't grasp it before. I never could grasp it until I was there. That how crazy it is to be in a place where the sun doesn't set, where it just goes around your head. It's incredible. It's amazing. It's kind of surreal, but it is really the sun, and we know that because it was the same sun that was in the north that we're flying down there, and it's behind the plane. And nobody came. There's no kind of nobody came through and switched out the suns or some of the other things I've heard. It's not a studio, and that's another thing. Just to see the amount of people, I thought flat earthers were really great researchers, and I'm not talking about everybody, because there are great researchers, but some of the ones that have come out and continued to push this it's fake thing is just kind of scary to me, to be like, well, how much of their other research has been drastically wrong? If they're drastically wrong on it, they're not even like kind of right. They're 0% right. Right. So everything from shadows, people who now have shadow experts, or footprint experts, or breath experts, or sun experts, and squishing experts, and they're all wrong. And that's something that I know you guys may not be able to know like I know, but I was there. So I know that every single observation and everything we've said about the trip was 100% fact. And so that's kind of scary to see a group of people that just, I mean, like Eric Dubay went from, as soon as we announced we were going down there, he said, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the sun does down there. And, Lady Blount saw it and admitted it. And Jeran's a shill. Right. Okay. So then we go down there and we observe it. And then 2 days after we get back or whatever, he's putting out a video saying that it was all faked. And people get behind that and people celebrate that and they champion that. And I'm like, okay, this guy's just basically flip flopping and jumping onto the newest theory and taking people's work and putting it out as his own. And people just all believe him. And that's not cool considering this is our like number one guy. I've said before he could be president of the Flat Earth Society. I thought that his research was solid. I thought that he was on the up and up. But for somebody just to come to the conclusion that it's an Amazon studio that somehow has been built in Antarctica, it just stops making sense to me. I'm like, well, what does he think happened? All those people that work there, they normally see the sunset, and just why would people go visit there if they're told there's a 24-hour sun and there's not? And then the employees have to put up with that lie. So it just seems like all that would go into that should tell somebody, oh, okay, no, it makes more sense that they actually went there. And we've got video showing that we're there. And we got my chest cam showing us on the plane, us get off the plane, us go to the camp, us go to the secondary camp. And then you got people that were friends of mine like Dustin Nemos and stuff like that that completely turned and just started calling me a Jew and things like that. And that's like, okay, dude. And he just keeps coming back with.
Wait, to clarify, are you a Jew?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
That's what a Jew would say.
I know, of course, right? Yeah, me and Dave, we go way back. No, not a Jew. But anyway, I mean, and I like Dustin. I appreciated some of his research, and so I just think people, their line of research isn't correct if they're just going to immediately assume, which I think is what happened. Well, this doesn't match the map that I believe in. So Dustin believed in an AE style map, I'm guessing. It doesn't match that, and so he just went to. They must have faked it. And
hey, are you down to field questions?
Sure.
All right, I dropped questions, respectful in all caps questions for Jeran. So if you have questions, try and submit them to the questions at the top of the chat. It's pinned, respectful questions for Jeran. I see a couple. Someone asked, does Jeran care to go in further detail as to what specifically he thinks is wrong with Hanvey's model?
Yeah, I mean, so in Joe Hanvey's model, whatever he's showing on that back wall is some sort of reflection, right? It's some sort of that's what it is in his model. It's a reflection or a mirrored reflection or whatever. But when we were there, there was no difference between the north and south sun, as far as it being diminished or you can look different. I just can't picture that being what you would see. And why would it be that the model would match what a sphere says should be seen, but it's not a sphere? It's actually a dome model, flat Earth with a appearing sun off the wall. To me, it's like, okay, so I don't think of God as being a deceiver. I don't think of God's trying to trick me. I do feel like I prayed whether I should go on this trip. I got the conviction that I was safe and to go look. That's basically what I got out of these prayers, is that I was going to be safe and I should go look. And so I did that. And I think that if Joe Hanvey's model is correct, then it's just weird that it kind of seems like, okay, so it could be explained on a sphere, or it could be a flat Earth with a reflective sun that appears on the other wall. But even in Joe Hanvey's model, it shows the little sun going around on the wall, right? But we were inside the dome. We were inside that place, and the sun went around our heads. So it's not like we didn't look at the south wall and see a sun going around in a circle on the south wall. We saw the sun go around us 360 degrees where we were inside there. So, I mean, Hanvey's model, now again, that would be a tough model to show, right? If it is inside of a dome, it's going to be a lot harder than just Hanvey with a flashlight going around a dome. So it's going to take more work than that to even come close to producing what we actually see. But I'm not saying it can never. Like I said, I'm open to evidence 100%. I mean, I just want the evidence that shows me that whatever I'm teaching or saying is true to look and be able to be explained as true. And I lost that. On this trip. And I came back trying to rationalize and trying to figure out, well, okay, let me look at these other models. No, I can't push that model. I can't push this model. It just, I kind of ran out. And then I have been thinking about people saying, oh, there's another map. There could be another map. But then I thought about the continents. I'm like, how can we move the continents? The continents work. That's the order of them. We know that the sun goes in Africa and South America and New Zealand and Australia, that we know that the order that the continents are. So we can't really move that much. And so for people thinking that there's another map coming, or Jeran's acting like it's a, what is it called? A binary system, or what do they call it when there's only two? Anyway, and I just said, no.
Yeah, like a
I'll take it.
dichotomy.
Yeah. And I just said, and that may be true that I do look at it that way, but it's because I've never seen one that otherwise really works. You know, the AE map is a model that works. I think Austin did the smart thing from the very beginning by not attaching himself to a model, whereas I did, and I started to explain things from that model, and I really kind of felt this is it. This is the layout of the Earth, and the way the UN map is done with 33 sections, and there's just enough about it that I said, okay, this map has to be it. But I think that also people think about it. I'm not sure there's another way you could ever depict the Earth without that being the layout of the continents. So do we have the sky wrong? It's possible, right? People have said that. They're like, well, you're saying that the ground's wrong. How do you know that the sky's not wrong? And that's another thing I can't really fathom. I don't really get that. I just know that the sun goes around the tropics. And people ask me all the time, what you don't know what the sun is? You don't know how far it is? You don't know how high it is? And I think in my head, I come up and I said, well, it doesn't matter. It could be a Nerf ball, and it could be 90 miles, or it could be 90 million miles, or it could be 900 million miles. It's above the people on those tropics, and it goes between them. That works on a flat Earth, works on a globe Earth. We're fine. But the problem becomes when we go down to Punta Arenas and I see the sun clearly setting right to left, you're like, okay, that's going not the way that the A map would go. So right away, I knew that there was a problem, but I said, okay, well, it still could be, you know, it's like a coffee cup caustic, or it's somehow shining off the dome, or a reflection, or a mirrored sun. But when we flew down there, it's the sun, and the sun then made sense to me as like, oh, now I see we kind of flew towards the southern end of it till it lifted up, and it was above the horizon. And then when we flew back, that southern end of the sun's orbit would dip below the horizon. And that's kind of what we saw. I don't know if people remember, there was a night that we were at Punta Arenas, and Lisbeth was showing on her app the path of the sun, and it was on my camera. We were showing it, and we saw kind of where the sun set, and it barely went under the horizon. It just like dipped under it a little bit and then rose again. And that's what we saw. I mean, that's so then I started thinking, okay, so it's got this huge arc in the sky way above our heads. Then it sets and it just goes under a little bit. And that made sense to me with the hula hoop kind of sun. Then we flew towards it, it lifted up. And then when we flew back, it lifted down. That's why it's got the high arc. And then if you keep going towards the equator, it's going to be, like I said, already gone through that. So,
Well, I don't want to push back too much, whatever.
yeah, go ahead.
I want to say this, like you guys can give me feedback. My mic is still too loud. I pushed it back quite a bit, but I think a lot of people may be confused with what it means to be a truther. You know, I always say seek and speak truth unequivocally, and you know, seeking out the truth entails acknowledging the evidence, even when it's contrary to your predisposition or bias. I think that's what Jeran's doing, and I respect Jeran. And obviously, I was with Jeran on the trip the whole time, and we talked honestly back and forth, and we were both pretty baffled at what we were seeing. And I have no beef with Jeran being transparently honest about this. And I think that we're going to create a different standard here at GLOBEBUSTERS. We're not going to act like much of the rest of the community, just throwing out slanderous, defamatory accusations and just being toxic and ugly. Jeran and I feel like we kind of made sacrifices in many ways to go get that for the community. So as to the point specifically, like I think that in order for you to, for example, make the argument, well, I mean, so it's just going to look just like a sphere, you couldn't really remain like consistent with that line of reasoning or argumentation, right? Because you know, when I shoot a 915 megahertz radio frequency,
Beyond the sun, no.
well, you can't just pick and choose things, right? So what I'm saying as an example is if I shoot a 915 megahertz frequency radio wave from a 5-foot buoy on the ocean, and it should get blocked at 10 miles, and it goes 830 miles and is received by a 15-foot tall fishing boat. and the 950 megahertz when the ionosphere is supposedly at 40.
Right.
That I could say exactly the same thing. Like, oh, it just so happens to work exactly like it would on a flat Earth, where I just line of sight shoot a radio wave straight, and it should only go 10 miles, and it goes 830. And it was whenever it was really clear conditions, just like a flat Earth would predict. And there are dozens, if not hundreds, of examples of that very thing, right? Or even with the sky itself, we see that perspective makes things fall, ramp down when it's above us and ramp up when it's below us in every aspect of our lives, right? So like when we look out at clouds or street lights or you name it, everything does that. Perspective makes things ramp and converge. Yet the sky does the same thing. Like the stars do the same thing, for example, right? Like as we go away from them, further away, they ramp down. The globe claims like that's the one exception where like perspective isn't what's causing it. So it does exactly what perspective would cause it to do, but it's not perspective. It's just like a special pleading thing. So I can say this. So to even claim the globe at all, you have to say, oh, well, it just so happens to do exactly what the perspective would do on a flat Earth, right? So there are many examples like that. So I don't like as to Hamvy's model, I don't think that rebuttal would be specific to his model, right? I guess is the point I'm making. You could make that point in general about the sun. The sun does a circle the other way as if it were a globe, right? Optically. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I said the same thing to you in person. I say the same thing publicly. Like, yeah, it's very odd in a way that it matches a globe, that we get to the equator, starts tipping over, and then goes the opposite way, and things appear upside down. I don't think that I was upside down.
No,
But,
my question would be though, have you thought about the South Pole and its existence?
Yeah, I have. Like, I don't necessarily agree with your take that you're convinced that you know for sure it's there. I'm definitely open to it being there, and like logically, I would even assume at this point it probably like it would have been there, right? If we had kept going, there's no reason to think that I wouldn't be able to continue to see the sun. There's no reason to think that the way that I saw the sun wouldn't continue to change based on me going further south, because that's what we experienced the whole way there. The only person I talked to was there for a couple hours. She definitely didn't know if it was staying at the same whatever. And we're looking, the solar spots don't necessarily seem to even match the globe prediction yet. So like, I'm not convinced of what we saw even perfectly matching the globe. Like the solar spot orientation doesn't seem to make sense. And I'm not convinced per se that would be there. But even if it were, I don't think it's exclusive to a globe. So I think we just disagree fundamentally on that, which
is fine. Like
I think we're just adults, and that's okay,
Exactly. That's what the way it should be. And that I don't want to fight with flat earthers. That's not the point. I think that we're all the same team. I think that everybody should be on the same team as far as globers as well. We should all be looking for the truth. And this turned into a very football match, turned into a team thing. And I have this fear of being in the same place in 10 years. And basically have gained not much knowledge. Now, that's just my own fear, because I just don't see either side budging, and I don't know if we can compete with the globe if we don't have a good map and model of the Earth. Now, again, I agree with Awesome when he says that replacement is independent of
falsification's independent of
falsification. Yeah, and I agree with that. And so it's not really right for me to say, okay, so flat Earth, you don't have a model. But what I am saying to myself is that since I don't have one, there's nothing for me to teach from. And to just be grasping at straws, starting all over, just seems disingenuous. It's not what I was pushing for 10 years. And if I saw somebody else do that, I would feel very jaded if they for 10 years were saying one thing, then they got disproven, and then they said, oh, okay, well, it's actually this, and I've been right the whole time. Or then I'm kind of like, well, you're not being really honest. You did have a prediction, and it didn't follow through. So that's where I'm at. And again, I most respect to Austin out of anybody. He's been like a brother through this whole thing, and I think that I appreciate him, not because I thought to myself, okay, well, am I just going to get attacked by everybody? And I would even understand that. I get it, but it seems like we're on the same page. That at least he understands where I'm coming from. He believes that I'm being honest. I think that he's being honest. So, what can we get mad at each other for? We just have different opinions right now, and I'm sure one of us will gravitate towards the other eventually.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think that this is good. All right, just a sec, Kalia scream.
Where are these questions? Where are you seeing the questions from? Is there a way that I can bring them up or no?
Yeah, I don't know if unless you can sign in. Hey, you want to tell everyone, hey, say hey. You say hey? Say it. They're listening to you right here. You have to say hey.
She's gonna be shy now.
Hey, say hey, GLOBEBUSTERs.
Wow. What the hell?
It's the cutest thing ever.
Yeah. Put that in the intro.
Yeah, she says in a world and don't make it weird, bro. That's the most recent ones.
Trying to see, you say, oh, so sign into the GLOBEBUSTERs. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, to get the question section. I can find one real quick.
Let me see if I can get
Someone said like, so what would Jeran consider his best FE proofs right now?
Oh, there's a ton. I mean, Flat Earth has a ton of proofs. I think that we're just missing a map, and maybe other people don't find that important as I do. I just think that the reason I was always behind the Flat Earth was because I thought that, number one, that the globe was a lie, and number two, that we could compete with it by showing reality, something that matches reality better, right? So the Flat Earth, the AE map is simple, it's understandable, the seasons are explained well, the observations in the north, everything's explained well. It shows, and then we don't move, we're not flying through space. So all of a sudden, that's it. I thought, okay, that's a better model. That matches people's senses a lot better. So that I got behind it, and I started to understand it, and it matched different areas of research. So I was all for it. Again, I've known, and a lot of people say they didn't know about the southern sun. It's huge for me. So people say, oh, yeah, I became a flat earther, but I didn't care about the sun. Okay, you came in late or didn't realize that. At least to me, that was a huge thing when we went looking for that.
Huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
And so to me, I was like, I've always known that, and there's a reason why nobody goes down to Antarctica, and nobody ever offered to go down Antarctica. And there's no, in 10 years though, you have to think about it. No flat earther ever went down there. And I know it's not our fault because flat earthers, we don't have money for $35,000 trips. And if people remember, I said probably a year or two into this, so way back 2016 or something, that if we ever went down to Antarctica, it would be a rich preacher. It would be a rich Christian. Somebody who owns Hobby Lobby, somebody who owns Chick-fil-A, something like that would go down there and show the sun doing what we thought it did. And so when Duffy came along saying it at first, yeah, I was a little bit weary. But then I kind of saw, okay, this guy's at least he's going to take us down there. And I'm like, if they're going to try and fake it, like, okay, I want to be there to see that. And talking to Austin, I just said, look, if it's anybody else that goes, whatever comes back is going to be iffy. The whole community is just going to call it fake, and we'll never know. And I said, so I feel like if we go, we eliminate two of those things, that people will not be able to call it fake, won't be able to call it fake. And the other thing is that we will get to see and we'll know for ourselves. And that's why we ultimately went. Now, so to get back and then have everybody call it fake, you're like, oh, well, that was, what did we accomplish there? So that was disappointing, but I get it. But it also just kind of makes me a little bit fearful of in the future now. Let's say there's some anomaly that comes up with flat Earth that people aren't going to be as apt to bring it forward because they might think they're going to get accused of faking it. So they just kind of tuck it away. Or somebody who wants to leave flat Earth, for example, may not be able to because they see what happens to me. So I wanted to show people that it's okay to step back. It's okay to say you were wrong. It's okay to admit that you don't have the facts anymore. You don't have the info that you feel, because I could just keep doing the same thing, right? I could keep doing the same thing but I don't feel like that's being fair to anybody. To myself, I'm not learning anything from that. To you guys, by making it seem like I know something about what I'm talking about when I really kind of gotten to that end of that leash, because that's the model I had bought into fully. So anyway, a lot of props to the people who didn't do that. And I think Zack just said that he kind of dropped the models 6 years ago. It took me a lot longer. It took me a lot longer to drop that. But
Yeah, so
and
I
again,
found out about some of the problems kind of early on. I jumped in 24/7 and started debating it, and yeah, that's why I created that phrase because just logically speaking, it doesn't make any sense. Like if I can't get an answer, I can't just then turn around and ignore the evidence or pretend that somehow there wasn't a geometric falsification or whatever. And then I realized that if there's a deception on this scale, it's actually kind of naive and borderline ignorant to think that we're just going to have a. I mean, like, why would anyone even pull off this deception and then let you have the map? To me,
be
that's
super hidden.
pretty wild. So I just yeah, like I'm fine with that. I think that that might be what the whole thing is. It's like this humble realization that you're not supposed to know it all, and then we can inch our way forward and figure it out as we go. So to me, that's fine. That's cool. Kind of start where we're at and build from there. And I know that that's the main thing I run into. Why a lot of people can't let go of like the spinning heliocentric globe model. Because they need answers, and they were given answers. They think they have them, and they incorporate them as if they're their own. Like we have this, we have that answer. We did this, and like really they did nothing. They
Right.
were just given answers. They didn't even really think for themselves to get to those
Well, that's
answers.
why I try to remind them. I'm like, globe earthers, you're not cooler than flat earthers. You're not. They think they're so much better, but all that they are people who believe what they were told versus people who are questioning what they're told. Now, I think that people need to go out and do observations and then try to be as unbiased as you can. It's difficult. I get that. I mean, I look back at some of mine now, and it's like, okay, if I kind of go this way, I can kind of see that, and so I can even see myself where I was biased in places um, that I wish I wasn't. But I think that's the nature of the game, and I think that's all of science is biased because people have a certain line that they've been pushing. So if you're Neil deGrasse or you're one of these guys, that's just an example. And I'm just saying, if you're one of these science guys that's been on that globe side the whole time, well, all your kind of observations and all your evidence is going to be with that filter, that kind of your bias. And if you are somebody from another department, you're going to have your bias. And so to eliminate that is one of the hardest things that there is to do. Um, and I think it's okay. What we should do. One other thing that Flat Earth kind of started to irk me was when we say we don't make claims and we don't have a model, because I saw it as at first I thought that was like a humbling thing, right? To say like, oh, sorry, I don't really have any claims to make, and I don't have a model really. Whereas it became a mantra, it became like a celebratory thing. And I saw people on Facebook basically saying it like they're proud. And I didn't quite understand that, because I said, why aren't we taking a step back? Let's work till we have that. Maybe we're not ready for the big leagues yet. Maybe it's going to be a few years before we can. But I didn't see people doing that. I saw people running with it. And then when I started seeing people on TikTok, and this guy, the fittest flat earther, and just the things that they're saying, when half the things I think, and you'd have to ask Alan and Shane, but I think when you watch some of these TikToks videos, we know that half the things they're saying are just not true. So it's become a thing now, and it's like people are, and I get it, because the idea behind flat Earth is celebratory, and it is kind of a racing of the guard, a racing of the elite. So I get that part of it. But the embarrassing thing was, as a moderator of a debate show, where if it wasn't Alan or Shane or Austin, the other debaters were just really not doing well, and they weren't really getting better. And it's because they would come and they would just try and say things like that on the debate show, like, "Well, I don't make claims. I don't." So it was like, all right, I don't know if we're not ready for that yet. We're not ready to be going up against all of science. And that's what I would want. I would want to bring something to the world that we could start showing them. And the AE map was that, right? Think about how many people we've converted because of the AE map. And for me to show somebody now that Dave's app and try and explain to them how the world works, but I know that that's not how the world works, is just not truth for me. And I couldn't do that. I'd feel terrible. And so if I can't use that map to bring people on board anymore, how do I really bring people on board for flat Earth? How do I say, well, it feels flat and it looks flat, something that I think people already inherently understand. The AE map was something that they'd probably never seen before. They're like, oh, wait, what? Oh, that's how it works. If I don't have that to go off of, I really get lost. I get stuck. I tried watching Flat Earth Tests videos because he's got a dual pole model. And that's another thing I didn't mention about the stars. We didn't see those down there, so I'm not claiming to have personal information about this, but people in the South have taken video of the stars turning in the South. And there's a South Celestial area. Wouldn't call it a pole star. There's no star there. But that area is the same thing, meaning that if you went down there in the winter, you would get the same bend, and then at the South Pole, you would have the stars circling above your head with a empty spot in the middle. So and that seems to be legit logically. So again, there's no flat Earth model that even can explain that really, if that's what happens. Now again, there's an outer disk of stars on the flat Earth model. If you're talking about the AE map, it goes around. I get it. It's just, didn't really line up for me anymore. So I'm going to try and log in here and see, go live and see if I can find those questions.
Cool. Doug Maurer asked,
Oh, yes.
while you're checking in, he said, what all sound recordings do you have, and are they close to being released?
So I've got some issues with my 24-hour time lapse, and actually I found a spot where I actually go and see the thing has powered off, and I just kind of look at it and say, oh, but it's a one thing short of the 24 hours. And so I sent the camera and the camera card to the owner of the company that sold me this Affidus camera. And so he's working on it to see if he can recover that last file. We think what happened is that the power of the power box went off in that last leg. And then the thing that kind of sucks most about it is when I saw it, and I remember it's actually on my chest cam, you can see me go over to it, look at it and say, wait, huh? And it's because the power's off. And if I would have turned the power back on at that point, I probably would have saved it. But I remember looking at it thinking like, wait, why did that go off? Did it run out? Okay, but the camera was still on. So I was like, it's still got power. I'm just going to leave it. I didn't want to interrupt it. But, he was kind of telling me, well, I think that the power died on that box. The camera had a residual bit of power because of the batteries that were in it. And then if those ran out, then it would have killed the final file. Because what it does is it basically records a file every, I don't know what it is. I think it's every gigabyte. And it just cuts the file, so it's got a bunch of cut files. So that'll come out regardless, even if it is short of the 24 hours. And the part that I did catch was the South, so that's at least good. The camera's not as good. I think some of the stuff that those guys did is way better. I have got some other images I want to come out. I've got time lapses I want to come out as far as the plane flight. That'll be out soon. So it's just been a little bit hectic and crazy. But I think that there's enough evidence. And again, I hate the whole trust me, bro. I'm not saying you have to trust anybody. Just I was there. I would tell you if any of those guys did anything funky, and they didn't. And that's, is that part of my whole decision? Well, they went there with a purpose of getting these different observations. They had an expected thing, and they went down there and saw what they expected and filmed it in multiple ways. So, that it is what it is. And yeah, and if people don't understand, because I've heard people saying that the delay, we're lying about the delay. It is a lot more difficult than you think. Go record 90 gigabytes or 100 gigabytes on your phone today, and then start thinking about uploading that to your computer or uploading it online or having to use that pro. What do you guys have? That 360 Max Studio, where all the videos need to go through that, and it's just slow. So it's just something we're not used to. I mean, when I make a video, even if it's 3-4 hours and we download it, it's like 3 or 4 gigabytes, and that's it. And even uploading that takes a long time. But these were my chest cam footage was 90 gigabytes, and moving those onto thumb drives has taken me. It takes about 4.5 hours per each thumb drive. So some of you may have gotten yours if you were one of the people that paid the $20. But I'm able to get like 2 or 3, 4 done a day. I could do more if I just sat there and thought about it, but I'll keep forgetting. Go out in the garage, flip them out. So it's just a lot more time intensive than anybody thought. And so, yeah, I'll get all that stuff out probably this week, have it all done. So let me just check these chat. And
Let me show this real fast, just so
Yeah.
just so everyone knows. I'm creating a little site here. If you look up here, it'll have, like, say you go to videos, live streams. So it has all the live streams that were done on the trip, right? So it has like the actual playlist on YouTube. It's taking forever to load. My computer's being super slow. Like all the playlist of all of them here, and then you can download each of the videos individually. You go
Oh, nice.
here. So it's gonna have the GoPro. It's gonna have the drone. It's gonna have all the documents from the trip, like even the contract and stuff, the telemetry data here. So a lot of the stuff should be there, including, like, say, that 25.5-hour high definition 360, all the actual files. You can download it yourself and find out how long it actually takes. And I have a feeling a bunch of people are not going to have a lot to say after they realize that. So yeah, I'm working on that, trying to get everyone in the group to kind of send me anything and everything that they're.
What is that site
pulling.
name? What'd you say?
I haven't
Oh, you haven't
announced it
anything.
yet.
Okay, gotcha. I don't really know how to pull up the Oh, here it is. Questions. Okay, I got it. Maybe I don't. These are all them in. Okay, I see. Doug, so got you. Jeran, do you think Starlink is high altitude pseudo satellites? Man, Starlink is crazy. I mean, we've seen these little things flying through the sky. I think that they are internet providing satellites. I don't know what to say. Whether they're attached to some sort of a shell or something, I don't know. But it's pretty crazy that we were able to get Starlink access. I mean, I live streamed from both. That's another thing I keep hearing people say. Let me just clear something up. People are saying that we lied because Austin said that we got there a day later than, or they got there a day earlier than us, and that at first, or we didn't get the Wi-Fi till after they did. And they're like, Jeran's chest cam footage shows that they were all given the Wi-Fi at the same time. So let me just explain something to you. So when Austin's saying we got there a day later than them, we're talking about Punta Arenas. Okay, so we all got there on the 11th, and they got there on the 10th, I believe. Okay, so they were there. When we're talking about all, we're just talking about Toon, Duffy, and Jonathan. They were all there a day earlier than us. So he's not talking about Antarctica. Yeah, a critical thing. Now, we were all in Antarctica on the same plane. Okay, so we all went to Antarctica together. Nobody got there early. We got there, and they were doing the orientation. And during orientation, we got the Wi-Fi for the Fram right there, which is the eating place where we ate. So that Wi-Fi is how I went live right away, saying that we're here. I was right outside the Fram there by the bathrooms. Then it only worked up until about the bathrooms. Couldn't even go to our tent and use that Wi-Fi. So it was very close to there. So then remember, we left there to go to the spot where we were going to do the 24-hour videos. And when we got there, we had to set up the Starlink because we couldn't, it's too far away. Like I just said, we couldn't even go to our tent and use the Wi-Fi. So we certainly couldn't use the Wi-Fi from 3 or 4 miles away. So over there, we set up the Starlink, and then that's where we didn't get the password because Duffy said, no, I don't want to use too many people on there because it'll kill certain people. We'd rather get these live streams done first. We're going to have the one for, what's her name? Candace. And then we're going to have, each person's going to do one, and it's going to be me first and Toon second. So that's what he's talking about, is that we didn't get the Wi-Fi for a long time after that. At least I did. So that's what he's talking about. So it's just, I hear people, they all think that they've caught us in something, and it's, no, you're never going to catch us in anything because it's a real story. So you can keep trying, but you're just going to keep striking out because there's really nothing to catch. The other thing is people saying, well, Austin said that those two mountains are different. Why do you get that? It's like, yeah, so some people make mistakes. Austin didn't realize that that mountain was the same one that's over by the camp. I mean, so does that mean anything? I mean,
Yeah, I just assumed they were different because we drove so long away from them.
Right. I mean, it's because we drove so damn slow. But we kind of went out. If you kind of picture that mountain that we're looking at, that big mountain, we just now picture backing up for 3 miles or 4 miles. That's where the secondary location was. So we're looking at the same mountain, but now instead of that sun dipping behind it, we went back far enough that it was slightly above it. So just, for the people that think they have some sort of gotchas, or you can keep bringing them, but the trip is real. There's no funny business that went on. It is what it is. And then people saying we didn't leave a day early. I think Sov's been telling people that we left a time early. No, he's wrong. We were scheduled to come back the 18th. And we found out on the 16th that we were going to be leaving on the 17th. And then Sov called me and was asking me, well, what kind of storm is there if there's no such thing as snow? And I said, they mean low-lying clouds. That when it's bad weather is better, the probably word than storm, but there's bad weather coming in, and that makes low-lying clouds. And that airport there, or that landing strip, whatever, is a visual landing strip, meaning that there's not the same kind of beacons that there are at airports, to where if it's foggy at your airport, I think a plane still can land. It basically dials into the old Loran system, and then it basically can get guided in by various, whatever that is. I don't know if that's radar or what they use to guide planes in.
And then a bunch of huge lights going down both sides of the runway helps.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. So at this place, there is no, if it's cloud cover and it's low, they can't see the runway. So the pilot also has a record of never has a plane taken off from Punta Arenas and not landed at Union Glacier. So, and the reason for that is the pilot can look at the weather ahead of time, and he can know whether or not the weather is suitable for him to land. So if he sees a day, the 18th, and he sees that there's going to be clouds that day, and he looks at the 17th and said, well, there's not going to be the 17th, then he switches it and says, okay, we're going to go the 17th. And then Saab was saying a bunch of, oh no, how did these people, what do you think, that they just gave 50 people an extra free day there? And the answer is yes. that when you're there, you realize that they're not spending a lot of money on anybody. The food is like slop in a tin, so there's not going to be that much extra food, even if 50 people come in. So they just tell the cook, "Hey, cook for 50 extra people." Those people are paying $31,500 to go there, or more. If they're going to the South Pole or other things like that, they're already paying even more. So that's already been cooked into the price. That's why they have us get there 3 days early, leave 3 days late, because of the fact that the schedule may change. And what he also doesn't understand is they gave us the option of leaving on the 17th or staying until the next flight on the 26th or 27th. And we all, except for John, but we all said, no, what? Get us the hell out of here. Austin and I were done. We'd had enough. So we were just like, no, we're done. So yeah.
Hot shower, warm
I mean,
bed.
everything.
Yeah.
Sleep. I mean, just, nighttime again, please. So, yeah, just, it's just funny to hear people say things and they're just very confused. And it's like, if you just would have reached out and asked us, Sav, who I thought was a friend, never reached out to ask me questions before he spent 6 days or whatever it was, 2 weeks or whatever, basically saying that the trip was fake. That baffles me. I can't imagine doing that. Seeing Sav go on a trip, he gets back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go on my channel now and just call it fake and bring up all these anomalies that never have called him and said, hey, I got a question. Kind of tried to clear some stuff up. So I get it. That's what flat earthers do. We're really good at pointing out things that we think are deceptive. It's just now I'm looking at it like, geez, that's scary to see the people that have gone on and on about it. And they keep thinking they're finding more. The other day I heard Dustin Nemo say, the more I look into this, the more I'm finding. And I'm like, wow, that's scary. And the more he started calling names, and then the more that he would say, well, and Jeran's not being very receptive to this, and he's defensive. Well, yeah, after a while, you're like defensive. But I still think I keep bringing this up because I think it's hilarious that when you look at Buzz Aldrin and he's talking to Bart Sibrel asks him about him faking it. Hey, look, it looks like you guys are not halfway to the moon. You're in Earth's orbit. What do you have to say about this? And Buzz Aldrin says, why are you asking us? We were just passengers on a flight. Ask NASA. They're the ones who orchestrated it. Whereas when you asked Austin and I questions about this trip, not once would either of us ever even dream of saying, why are you asking us? We were just passengers on this flight. Go talk to Duffy. Because we would never say that because we were there. So we can answer your questions. We were there. But when Buzz Aldrin gets asked questions, he immediately wants to defer to, why don't you go ask NASA? We were just passengers, rather than just answer the questions about where you were. Why are you saying you're halfway to the moon when here we're seeing you in low Earth orbit? So just you can kind of read into that how you want.
I think when you guys were with Kingdom in Contact, I mentioned in the chat, I was like, dude, look at how quick everybody is they're cutting each other off to answer questions. Now go look at the Apollo 11 moon landing interview.
Right.
And they sat there and would look at each other after every question, like, who's going to try and answer this one? It was totally different. It's like, you guys just look at it with open eyes, not with some bias because they said something that goes against what you believe,
right,
but just with open eyes. And
yeah,
no, I don't see any deception anywhere. I'm sorry. I just don't.
Yeah. There's just the temperature. People, I mean, I saw somebody say it was like -30. And how did they take their shirts off? It's like, no, the whole time we're there, it probably didn't get colder than 5 and probably didn't get warmer than 20. But that's not the temperature where they just took off their shirts real quick and put them back on. It's not comfortable if they would have went around all day doing that. It just was.
No, people go and jump in ice water.
Right.
Yeah, polar plunges. Yo, when we first got there, like the wind is way more intense off the plane on the runway, and I was like, this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
When we got to the camp, it was like no wind. It's like, so you just feel the sun, no wind. It wasn't really that bad at all. Like you actually, with 4 layers on, you'll kind of start to sweat at times and get hot. But still, you do end up getting cold if you're out there long enough. If the wind starts blowing at all, it's like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I'm from Florida, bro.
And then when it was in the South, it was pretty miserable. And then the wind would pick up and we were in our tents, the second night that we were there. And it was the whole night was just, you just heard all the strings and zippers and everything just rattling because that wind was just cutting through there pretty good. And then you're in the shade from that mountain. So it's also cold. But again, like Austin said, when we got there, that mountain is kind of like I don't know if it keeps it warm because it's so close or something, but it just was nice there at that. And if you haven't looked at Mark Herman's, he has a video he just put out. It's like 15 minutes long. It's a 360 video from when we arrived at the camp. So you can actually go through the orientation that we went through and all that. But just to clear up, because what happens is you have people mention, oh, they're lying about the Wi-Fi and he's lying about this, and then that goes and people read that and people see that, and then it just like we'll never get that back. Even me saying it here, will never reach everybody who already thinks that we lied about the Wi-Fi. So I get it. People want to be.
Well, that's a bunch of globers too. Like people from both sides accusing us of lying. Even
Really, Globers?
Matune's
I haven't
already
seen any
back
Globers
claiming
accused.
I'm lying about all kinds of stuff. I didn't lie about anything. Hey, where can you find the Herman video?
Check his channel, Mark Herman. Is it Herman?
Check
I think
his
it's the name of
channel.
his channel. Search that, see if you find it.
Mark
Anyway,
H-E,
can you please
yeah,
turn up your mic? Who, me? Am I not loud enough? Get closer.
I think it's just that I'm too loud. I don't see it's on Rumble or YouTube.
No, it's on YouTube. I'll find it. Hold on, let me see. It should be over here.
I just want to add that video.
Mark Herman. Is that how you spell it? Oh, maybe
I think there's an aspect of it where it's like at this point, it's just like they're doing it just for attention anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like just let's not even give them attention. I mean, I'm making this site. It's gonna have everything, even
That's all you
the
can do.
contract and the documents and the receipts and the airplane flights and
Yeah, the
every
more,
video,
the more thing that
pictures.
comes out, the more things I'm hearing people say are fake. So it's kind of like, okay, now it's just kind of over it. Like you can consider it fake. I mean, if you want, did you find it or no? It's his channel name is at Mark J Herman. So youtube.com/at Mark J
Okay,
Herman,
yeah.
and then it's the second to last video. But he's got that one. Then he's got the arrival on the plane, which is another. How long is that one? 6 minutes. But the 15 minutes is pretty cool. So let me just keep doing these questions. Tell us your position on the documentary maker and how you think it will be presented to the public. Well, we have final edit clearance, so I think it should be a good one. He's been working with Witsit and been talking to, I think Dave talked to him, and he's going to get some of these flat earth proofs into the documentary. The documentary is supposed to be more about the trip and the people and not so much about showing a proof of some type. I think that John believes, like we do, that this isn't proof. I'm certainly not saying that the trip is proof or that the observation is proof of anything. It's more about the understanding of where I was and understanding what I think the sun's doing. True Hampton, true or false? You were part of a group that debunked the globe AE projection map 10 years ago? No idea what that means. 10 years ago. True or false? You were part of a group that debunked the globe AE projection. No, false. Sebastian Ruland, did you talk to penguins? No penguins there. Jeran, do you think your trip was objective considering what Flat Earth considers south? Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that trip could happen on a AE map, if that's what you mean. So, because everywhere would be south. And so if somebody was over at, say, underneath Africa in that part of Antarctica, that would be south. But they would, if they started walking towards the sun, like I'm talking about doing, they would end up at the South Pole, like I would. So how could that be on an AE map? It seems like it would only work on something else. So, does Jeran follow the Jesuits' oath? No, I do not. Question: are you going to be do a new niche channel of smoking Cali in the world's most dangerous places? Serious question. No, Gleam. Thank you. DJ Curious, is it possible the lie of the sphere model was built around our reality? Absolutely. But I think that, so if we're going to say they looked at the sky and then made the sphere, then we should be able to look at the sky and make it flat. That's my opinion. So if it's able to be done like that, then let's reverse engineer the sky to a flat Earth. But I think you're going to run into the problem with the South Pole, personally. Do we have confirmation that someone can leave Punta Arenas and Australia, South Africa, and meet at the same South Pole? No, it would just be logical to assume that. Again, I don't think we could say for sure that that's what happens, but I would guess it does. Yeah. What do you do next? Probably have to get a job. No, I mean, I've been saying I really want to start. This is just an idea, and I've already got a couple people from like Lindsay from Rogue Waves, and I don't want to really name names yet, but there's some people that I want to start a radio station like TFR, and it's going to be for truthers and flat earthers, globe earthers, it doesn't matter who, but I want it to be someone that you don't talk about other people, you don't talk about other content creators. I think that everything about YouTube has become drama. It's become fights. It's become he said, she said, and we don't get anywhere through that. So I'd like to be part of something where everybody's just giving their honest opinions about what they think, what they see, what their observing, what they feel, what their beliefs are, and leave out, oh, I'm going to talk about this guy every day. I'm going to talk about this guy every day. There's channels out there that are basically just surviving off talking about me. That's what it's every show that they do. So I would like to be part of a station that doesn't do that. So that's a goal of mine, is to start. And if you're interested in running a show, if you think you'd be somebody who'd be good pulling an hour a week or even more, reach out, t.me/Jeranism, and just tell me I would like to do a show on sports, or I'd like to do a show on, whatever it is, electroculture, you name it, growing food, being a homestead, anything like that.
Yeah, I'm sure the guys would be interested. We got
Okay,
our
cool.
morning show we do 3 days a week.
Awesome. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's others that names you recognize that I just haven't really gotten permission to say their names yet, but some people who have been great through the years and who have reached out to me, and they at least respect me for being honest and don't think that I should just disappear. So, where is the model that you used to claim there was no 24-hour sun in Antarctica? Surely not projection of the sun's perspective, where you've always said the things in the sky don't define the shape of the land. Yeah, I mean, I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I don't think that is an accurate thing to say. Again, we said that originally because people were saying the sun is a sphere, the moon is a sphere, therefore we're a sphere. That's not logical. It doesn't logically follow. But the other, when you know the path of the sun, which is in my mind the most important thing in the world, there's nothing more important than the sun. I believe God gave us his only son, it's to be a guiding light, that kind of thing. But I think the sun's important. And I think if you know the path of the sun, then you can determine whether your map is right or wrong, because you can just simply say, oh, this is the map we think we live on. And then you place yourself there and you see, does the sky that you know for sure does certain things, does it work on that map? And if the answer is no, then you can exclude that map. So that is using the things in the sky to say the shape of the ground. So I disagree, and I've never agreed with that since it's been said day one. I've kept saying over and over again, no, that's not what we're talking about. And they just changed it. It was never, go back before Will Duffy and find me somebody who says we can't take the lights in the sky to mean the shape of the earth when they're talking about the orbits or the movements of the things in the sky. We were talking about the shape of things in the sky. You cannot look at the sky and say that the moon's round, therefore we're round. That's what they mean by that. No sense in arguing with stupid. Thank you. Jeran, I was once a flat earther, but gave up the fight because I say it's impossible to prove. And since it's impossible to prove, I figured better to leave it alone. The world will win this battle. I kind of feel a little bit the same. I just feel like even if the globe is a lie, then we have to be able to at least show that we can compete by showing a better version of reality. And if I don't have a map, then I'm really going to struggle with that. So I have to back out. Where are we at here? Okay, I've shown in a video based on McKeegan's video, I demonstrated anomalies appearing in the video which show the sun glaring off the firmament. Have you considered the hologram sun theory in the south? I have not. I mean, again, I don't know what a hologram sun is. The sun generated heat and provided heat for the area and was light for the whole area and followed us down there in the plane. So, and it's the same sun that we see. So I don't really know what hologram sun means. Will you be applying this level of scrutiny to your previous stated flat earth proof? Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I don't feel like there's flat earth proofs right now, but that's because I don't really believe in proof. But yeah, anything in the past, people want me to go through my old videos. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a learning opportunity for me, or I'm not going to grow from that. But I do think it'd be good to go through some of them and explain why I think that I might have been mistaken. Do you agree a model is what you get when you connect the dots of facts and evidence into a coherent explanation of reality? Flat earthers don't have a model because the dots don't connect. Yeah, I think it would take time, though. I mean, we shouldn't expect from a flat earther to do what the globe did in hundreds of years. But I do think that if we're going to pretend like we can compete, then we have to have that. And I feel like people have gone past pretending like they can compete. They're yelling at people on Facebook and acting really cocky. And I'm not sure that we're in a position to do that right now.
Well, we're going to keep that same energy whenever their predictions all the way down to 8 miles are wrong, with all the layers, including how the asymmetrical magnetic field doesn't work, and they can't even sustain the magnetic field. And then we have dark matter and dark energy and the event horizon. All of those things are fine. The facts still connect or don't connect, and there's no model, but it's okay. It's all good.
No, I mean, I'm not. That's why I say I'm not going to be a glower. I'm not going to promote any of that stuff. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I think that they've been wrong on all that stuff. I'm just basing it off of the sun, which seems very important to me. Seems like it can tell you where you're at, and I would be very happy if somebody was able to produce a flat map that works for my observation. It just I haven't seen it yet. From Sean Alke, why did you guys ignore observations of the sun arcing away south of the Tropic of Capricorn? This was brought to your attention years ago. Because I've shown before, if you take a glass half dome and you hold it up to your light in your bedroom, you can just shift the half dome a little bit left or right, and it shifts that light to the left or right. So I was able to, when they said, hey, the sun sets south of west, I went and took the little dome glass and showed that, yeah, it could be setting that way, but look, in my dome glass, it goes that way. So I was able to
Well,
dismiss that.
even with that coffee cup caustic thing that you had, that program, you were able to show, look, when I move
Great
the sun
optics.
over here, it
Right.
actually looks like it's to the south of there when it's
I
actually
replicated
over here. Yeah.
all of it in a dome, like a bigger dome, and then the smaller little personal visual dome, which would actualize or materialize because the medium that we viewed through it is air, that is matter, right? And so we basically do have like this little physical dome around us, and that's provable because of like anti-corpuscular rays and corpuscular rays and stuff like that. If you take
Right.
a light source, you move it over a dome, even if you keep the light source the same height the whole time, it'll look like it arcs up from one side of the dome over your head and arcs back down. It'll look like it disappears from the bottom up, even though the light never changed height at all, ever once. It just looks like that within. And if you move it in a circle over top of, like, say, a flat Earth, if it's going from left to right, right in this circle, so in this clockwise circle, if you move it within that dome, it'll just like he said, it'll look like sets off to your left.
Right.
Like, that's just what happens, like, so it can be replicated. So, a lot of the claimed debunks of the map wasn't a debunk, even though I didn't claim it. I thought it was illogical to think that we would have a map. Like,
Right.
I did consistently push back on the false claims of falsification, right? Because they weren't true. Like, just like the flight
Right.
wasn't true. We looked into it further, we're like, "No, the times are literally different." Like, even on this trip, they're like, "Oh, this disproves flat Earth." Well, one of his flights was 3 hours longer than the other.
Right. And when it did set like that, the question immediately became, well, if it does that, isn't it going around the Earth? It's like, well, if there was, then we would have 24-hour footage from the south, which we didn't have. So it's easy to dismiss that and do it. To give up the flat Earth at that point, I think would have been, uh, folly, or it would have been I didn't wasn't at the place I'm at now. So again, I'm glad I didn't give it up then. But I could look back now and say, okay, well, that was pretty good evidence that if we would have at that point then said, okay, let's go down to Antarctica and see, maybe I'd feel the same way I feel now then. But I just dismissed it, and there was other reasons beyond that too. I mean, I kept that going. Again, it's a bias thing, maybe. I remember Jake being the one that told us that, but then he was using all of Cool Hard Logic's videos, and I just remember being upset at that. Like, here's this flat earther who just went and immediately in a day flipped to now showing Cool Hard Logic's videos, and I was upset at that. So I didn't even actually really think about the evidence. I mean, the hardest thing for me today was Ranty tried calling me today. I didn't answer the call on Skype, but then I went to Skype and looked, and I saw my last message to him. I think I deleted it, even though he probably already has it saved, because it's just all the things I was saying and calling a bunch of names, and kind of made me feel a little bit bad. But I was like calling all kinds of names. Anyway, can somebody tell me how GPS would work without satellites being in space? Yeah, I mean, some people have talked about balloons or talked about satellites being up there. I mean, I don't think we've.
Yeah, no problem. The physics and equations literally use an ECF, an Earth-centered, Earth-fixed coordinate system, and then they account for real inertial forces. So the angular momentum and of a rotating universe. Literally, in the physics and equations, you can't even invoke any satellite without it using geocentric physics. We're not just talking about like the kinematics. Oh, it could be either way. You can treat it like it's because we're from the Earth. It's convenient. We're talking about the forces, like physics, the dynamics. Okay, like that's what it uses in the physics and equations. So yeah, like I mean, it could just be satellites up there using what their equations and physics claim that they use, which would be the forces generated by a rotating universe, which is why I say the heliocentric model doesn't even work on its face. It can't even explain orbits, literally, because whether you use Einstein or Newton, you name it, you have to invoke centrifugal forces and basically centripetal forces. But both of those things can't exist within Newtonian mechanics and Einsteinian mechanics. But you can't make the physics and equations for orbits of planets or satellites work without them. So that's the answer. It's like a total misnomer that there's some type of problem for flat Earth. In fact, we'd be able to offer much more like real physically viable options as to why a satellite or or how a satellite could move over a stationary flat Earth, as opposed to the current model, which claims it's free falling, changing direction, but no forces are involved or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's really. And then I've never got a rebuttal that there is no rebuttal. It uses actual inertial forces that are not supposed to exist according to the mainstream model.
And I want to reach out to Sungenis to see, ask some questions. I think he really buys into the whole NASA thing and accepts all their numbers. I think that I want to think about the geocentric idea and play with it a little bit and see what I can come up with, because I do think that that's possible. And I think that that would make sense as to, let's say we can't go to space, we can't travel in space. So that would mean why we don't have pictures of the Earth, because you can't get far enough away from the Earth. And then that would mean why they use fisheye lenses and things like that, because they're trying to show a curve. Because let's say the Earth is curved, and again, we know that the science does this. They lie in order to get the truth across, supposedly. I don't know why you would ever do that, but we've seen it done before. So it might be one of those cases. Again, I'm very new to that, so I'm not going to talk like I'm an authority. I have to think about that and really kind of dig to the bottom of it. Somebody asked, Jeran, I wanted to ask you, what kind of experiments did you and with it do? Did you make EMF measurements? No. Or any other experiment other than optical ones? No, everything was optical. I mean, I think that we went down there with at least me, wanting to watch the sun. I mean, and then I really felt like those guys might be up to something. So I wanted to keep an eye on what they were doing. And I thought they'd be doing other things. And really, they just were observing with their cameras. Dave McKeegan was busy readjusting cameras. I don't know, Toon was putting rocks in circles, and they had another experiment that did like a shadow. I don't know if you guys have seen that. They call it the Jeranometer or something for some reason, but it's a GoPro sitting down under a box showing upwards at a mirror that shows this circle that had one gnomon, and then basically you watch that thing go into 360 circle, the shadow, just showing that happened. And you can watch that and kind of see that there's no deviation there. There's no like, oh, this is the moment where it flipped to some other sun or something. Did you guys notice any energetic, maybe metaphysical feelings from being so far from the North Pole? I did not. Shoot, I went way too far, didn't I? Sorry, I skipped a bunch. Wow. Hold on. Sorry, I'm way back here. Even further. Okay, there. Why don't you guys do open panels? We do. We've done them before. Probably once a month we do call-ins. I do it every month on the first Thursday of the month on my channel. Pseudosciences University
Wait,
says.
time out. Danny says, according to McToon, Austin was drinking a lot of alcohol. That's a total lie. What? What are you talking about?
Oh boy.
Oh, I guess I drink some wine at the dinners. I did drink some wine at the dinners.
What is a lot of alcohol? They had like a glass of wine at dinner.
I don't know. McToon should, if he was wise, he would shh, because, well, I just stay McTooned.
The Gracie map is an 1892 map. The explanation of the sun revolution around the Earth changed, evidenced by climatic environment. Pole shift is sun trajectory over the Earth changing. Do you agree? Pole shift is sun trajectory over the Earth changing. Do you agree? No, I don't know if I believe in any pole shift or anything like that. I'd have to look into that more. Why do you guys not negotiate a real experiment with Duffy that doesn't involve looking at the sky? Because I don't even know at this point would anybody accept anything, to be honest with you. That's kind of the point that I've gotten to. I'm not really sure there's anything that you could do that's going to convince some people. They've called this fake. So if we took a plane and went across the South Pole, they would just say that that's faked. So you can come up with an experiment.
I got a couple good tests, though. The skip zone test and the frequency out line of sight with the horizontal antenna. It's supposed to only receive signals horizontally, line of sight over a body of water. And they put the receiving antenna right in the middle of the skip zone or the dead zones. According to the globe, it should be going towards space until it bounces off the atmosphere. It should be a skip zone, dead zone. Horizontal antenna can only receive a line of sight. I think that's definitive. And then have a bunch of mechanical gyroscopes on a long flight, and it should tip over and then flip upside down on a globe. And I think that almost everyone on both sides agree that both these tests should be pretty definitive.
This person says, how could it be a bigger ball? So I've never said that, but you're saying how can Earth be a bigger ball? Because sun shadows I don't think the Earth can be bigger than we're told. So I don't know why people think that I've said that. When I say if you're on a gigantic ball, I'm talking about the ball that they say we're on, which is a gigantic ball. So 24,901 miles is way bigger than we can even fathom. You sometimes forget how big it is until you're in a plane flying like we did, and you realize how long it takes to fly distances that seem pretty short on a map or globe. And it's the world is big, and if it's 24,901, then you would essentially measure the ground as flat wherever you were. It just curves over distance, so it starts to accumulate 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles. You're at 66 feet, so on and so forth. Who is the King Nico character? Never even heard of him before until this. Did Jeran say what he thought were the best flat Earth proofs? Yeah, I mean, I think they're all still good. I mean, they're just there's not a map for me to place them on, so if that becomes a problem for me. So that's that. Jeran, how come ALE never posted about TFE on their Facebook page, but posted about citizen cloud observations? They obviously didn't really care about what we were there for. Like nobody ever said, "Oh, you guys are the ones who are going down to," they just didn't care. They have people coming in and out of there all the time. Now they did eventually, when they heard that we were there and what we were doing, then they wanted to have like a little night where we talked to them and explained how could we believe in a flat Earth. And I think Austin and I did a good job of talking. Austin did a great job. I kept bringing up problems like, because they're like, how could you have flat Earth? How could they exist? And I was listing all the reasons of why flat Earthers exist. Because you guys lie about this, you lie about that. Stephen Hawking lied. These guys lied. And just showing them that this is why I can never not side with flat Earth, is because we had scientific endeavors that said, hey, we're going to show you the proof of the shape of the Earth, and then they lied. So, and I'll never be able to answer you why they did that. Again, some of it might be psyop related, or it's just fakery all over, and that for whatever reason they can't show it, they don't want to show it. I don't know. I mean, again, you're asking me. It's like the why did they lie question, right? I can't tell you that. I'm not the one who lied. So I've been honest with you from day one. I thought that the sunset, I thought the AE map was true. Hey, Jeran, how? Oh, yeah. So that's why ALE, I don't know. ALE just didn't seem very big about it. It's not like they were going to post this. Oh, we have here the big final experiment. I mean, it's big to us, but I don't think to other people, like to ALE, they didn't see it as big. They work down there. They're there every year. So they've been there for 35 years. I really don't think it's that big of a deal to them. F.E. Dave has expressed he's been wanting to speak to Jeran directly, even after friction. Is it possible we can make something happen to settle outstanding issues between him and Jeran? I like Dave. You guys know that. Dave's my friend. But yeah, I just haven't heard from him since we got back. How will Witsit and the fellas that remain in the community continue to fight for flat Earth after losing Jeran and all the new info of the sun? They're the best people to do it. I mean, they're going to dig deeper, and they're going to either find something or move away from it. But I think if you still feel strongly about it, you want to stay here. This is probably the best place on the internet for it.
I think that the cosmological deception is like one of the biggest lies in the history of man. It completely detaches people from like the importance of where we live, and it's been like diligently hidden because a lot of people have atheistic bias in academia. And yeah, we gotta figure it out. We're going against a lot of funding and a lot of censorship and a lot of time.
So he says, how can it be colder in the shade from the mountain when the footage shows no shade from the mountain? Well, the shade from the mountain would only be in the middle of the night, which would be 2 a.m. to maybe it was 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. So probably you didn't see that because we were either at the secondary camp or we were in our
yeah, the 24-hour live streams were at the secondary camp, so that
right,
it didn't go behind the mountain, so they could actually see it the whole time.
Correct. How did you know, Joey? Did you know the AE globe projection map was bunk years ago? Did you know? No, it wouldn't be bunk until I saw a 24-hour sun in the south. Otherwise, just setting south of west, rising south of east. Now, granted, if you ask me, did you know that matched the globe years ago? That's different. Yes, I know that matched the globe years ago. So what does that mean? It's still not reason to give up the flat Earth because it still would require there to be a 24-hour sun in the south. Hello, Jeran. Troubled water in flat Earth, but still uncurved. Everything starts anew. Why don't we start with the moon? Just with naked eye, you can see it is never a sphere out of some magical stone. Sorry, wait. Just with the naked eye, you can see it is never, ever a sphere out of some magical stone. Yeah, we should start with the moon. The moon's one of the most, crazy things that we have in flat Earth that I don't know if anybody's really put a good answer to. Jeran, have you thought about investigating deepfakes and computer modeled fraud? Sure. I mean, there's a lot of that. I don't know if, deepfakes are getting so good and now AI is so good. It's going to be tough. And that's another reason, and I fully admit being completely selfish with this trip, but it was another reason I just said, if I don't go on this trip, probably never get that option again. And then also, I'm not sure we can trust video anymore. So how much longer can you trust video? Now, in this case, when there's 10 people down there with their own cameras and there's a bunch of 360 cameras, 24 time lapse where you can see the other people doing what they're doing, that's a little different. You can trust that just by the pure amount of evidence. Did you guys notice any energetic? Oh, that's what I read. No. And Jeran, have you thought about? Sorry, nobody else on the panel going to call out Jeran's illogical nonsense? Well, you can call it illogical. I mean, it's disagreeing. I don't know if it's illogical. They can disagree. For me, the sun is best described right now with me being on a sphere. There's not a map that explains it yet to me. If you don't believe the creator is into tricks, then you would have to believe the earth is a ball. For why would the creator put craters on the moon? Why not just have vanilla sky? No, I mean, there's a lot of things like that for me that really, like the AE map works perfect. I really thought that was the map. I still am upset about it because it just makes sense. The seasons make sense. Everything makes sense on the AE map. It's simple. It's easy to understand. It matches our observations up until the southern tropic. But so same kind of thing. Whereas if now, then I have to ask questions if they start. Well, what about Joe Hamby's model? It's like, well, why wouldn't the creator just leave it as the AE model? The AE model works fine. You don't need the sun to go backwards in the people's heads in the south. And why? There's only snow there. The sun doesn't even, because of its angle and because of the height of the Antarctica, it doesn't even get hot there. It doesn't even melt the ice. So to me, it's like we wouldn't even need that. So then you have to start asking, why would that be put there?
Yeah, I can't find any information about like Babylonian sky charts and talking about the sun down there and whatnot. But the story of Nimrod, that's the only reason I could see. I mean, humans are like the most devious creature in this place, wherever we are. Like we see something, we have to go investigate. And like, according to the story, Nimrod said, go out to the edge, blah, 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 blah. We're going to find out the edge of the creation. They came to a barrier that they couldn't get through. They couldn't dig underneath. And then they built the Tower of Babel.
I don't think I knew that.
So maybe the creator was like, you know what? I made it a frozen wasteland and they still just kept walking out there. I need to trick these fuckers. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. But yeah, I mean, humans are, we're curious. If we see a fence, we want to know what's on the other side. Who built the fence? Am I on the inside of the fence? What's going on here? Yeah, we just are.
And Austin described it perfect too. And he said, maybe it is like meant to confuse you. Like if you get out that far and things start going backwards, you'd be like, oh shit, I need to get out of here. Things are going backwards. I need to go the other way. So it might be done to like keep us in. I don't know. What's your thoughts on the upward vector and the fact that it has only gained more well-reasoned people promoting it? I think it's all based on one air. So I think that they talk about displacement. There's no displacement going down. And that's because everything in the world is going down. Everything on your desk right now, or everything on your lap, everything on your head, everything is going down already. So if you move something to the right, then it's going to displace to the left because it was going down. You moved it to the right. That stuff goes to the left. Same thing if you do it the opposite way. But the one thing that wouldn't happen is when you drop it, it's not going to displace because it's going in the direction it was already going. So it's just going to continue to go down. So that alone, to me, is disproves or debunks the entire upward rising Earth. Their entire premise is things don't displace going down, so there must be no force. So we're actually, the ground is moving up. Nope, it's just things are already going down. That's why there's no displacement.
And that's called vector subtraction. Well said.
Thank you. Yeah, you see, yeah, I'll tell you about it. Hey, Jeran, I'm a 29-month member of your YouTube channel. Are you closing that down because it represents flat Earth? I haven't thought about that yet. I mean, yeah, I will keep the channel open, but I mean, I don't know what you mean. Close the channel down? No, I mean, I'm going to get rid of a lot of the videos on there, but no, I guess is the answer for right now. Did anyone get footage of flying from over the ocean to crossing the ice shelf into Antarctica? The icy waters were great to look at, but the approach to entering Antarctica would be awesome. Well, the only sad part about that is we came in at the peninsula, right? That little fishtail that comes out. And so when we're flying over that, it's like a back and forth where we were going over water, then there'd be a little bit of ice, then there'd be water, ice. And then before you know it, you're into Antarctica. That's just the way the peninsula works. So I do think in some of my footage you can see part of the ice wall, but we didn't really go, and no one's ever claimed that that's part of the ice wall, right? The ice wall is more of the shelves that come off the rest of it. So that's not the best flight path if you're going to fly and see the ice wall, because you're going over the peninsula. What are your thoughts on? Oh, read that. Did anyone go read that? Also, your stream 2 days ago reached 5.2K watching, so super chats galore. Is that a first timer? Yeah, I saw. I mean, it's almost like, I think it was like $900 or something in super chats, but that's certainly not the reason to do any of this, and that'll die out real quickly, believe me. But yeah, again, I mean, that's what sucks about this, is that you're going to see that, and people are going to take what they want from that, but certainly not the reason. Was the Antarctic cold what you expected, or was it worse? It was less than I expected. I thought it was going to be more miserable. I mean, it was still not fun. I'm a California guy, so still not by any means fun. But I never even wore that. We were rented these polar jackets that I thought we were going to have to wear, and I never wore mine once. So, was the Antarctica cold? Oh, sorry. Do you know the oxygen levels down there? I do not. We do not have an oxygen measurer. We need a link for your high quality full length video of your time watching the 24-hour in Antarctica, please. Yes, we're getting that. Is the full moon bright enough to cast shadows on objects on the Earth? If so, is it possible to do the sticks and shadows experiment with the full moon? Huh. Yeah, I guess so. Wouldn't it be the same though? Wouldn't the shadows from the moon be the same as from the sun? I think they should be the same. I'm guessing it's the same. Yeah, I think that it's the same angular size in the sky. It's a light. You should have the same shadows. Shouldn't have to do it again. Is it true when Jake told you all that your map doesn't work, you would turn your back on him and say he's going to be a glober, kind of like people are saying to you now? Sure. Yes. Jake turned his back on the map. The difference there is that he contacted me privately and was like, oh, I'm doing a cool hard logic debunk. And how do I debunk this part? Because that's the thing. I've said this about Jake before. He's not a researcher. He would always ask us for all the work, and then he would go and do these videos where he would be like battling those guys. And he did a great job. He was good at going up against, I just remember, Bill Nye, different people. He would just do these kind of funny videos. He would get the information from us, and he would go do them. It was great. Then he asked me about Cool Hard Logic's video and how do I debunk this? And I said, well, don't yet. He said, what do you mean, don't yet? I said, well, we don't know how to answer that yet. And he got really mad. Like, well, who else knows this? Like, well, people that are flat earthers know it. We know that the sun sets like that, but we don't have an answer for it yet. So I said, skip that and debunk something else. And he got really upset at that. Like, we should have all the answers. And I said, I'm just saying we don't have that answer yet. So then he did a video where he basically said, all these guys are shills because they all know that the sun. So again, that's going to be off-putting. It doesn't mean I'm a shill. It just meant that we weren't ready to debunk that yet. So he went off. Then he started showing Cool Hard Logic's videos, calling it a pizza map, or what do you call it? A frisbee, a blue frisbee, or I don't remember what he called it, but it was something stupid. But he went way different than I'm going. And he just went against flat earth and called us all shills and said we were all in the same boat because we all knew that it was a problem. So that's, I hope that answers your question. What was about the upside down compass? So what's funny is that if you look at that, what's his name? Keith Flatzoy did, is that's just a screenshot. So again, like nobody ever asks questions. Like he has a screenshot of me with an upside down compass. Where's the video? Well, the video shows you that I have gloves on. I grab the compass and it's upside down and then I flip it over. So again, just because they took a screenshot of it upside down, what the hell difference does that make? They're like, he doesn't know how to use a compass. Okay. Duff says they measured the curvature during TFE. Were Jeran and Austin aware about it? We didn't see that. We'll have to see, unless you're talking about Punta Arenas, but I don't think, has that come out yet? We'll have to check. Why do you guys deny the obvious? The Earth is clearly a turtle. Thank you, Bongo. Jeran, do you think any other Flat Earth content creator might follow your lead and leave the cult? I think that Melodome sees kind of what I see. I think Chris Crum are the only two that I know of that have said that they see what I see. That's all. Jeran, do you think, oh, sorry. Did you manage to see the full moon opposite of the sun? Was it a 24-hour full moon too? Nope. The full moon didn't get down there till we were gone. So another thing, people saying, oh, Jeran all said that the moon also did that. And if you go back and watch the actual video, I don't say that. I said we've heard that the moon does that. And if the moon does that, that would be pretty hard for the flat earth to explain. And I believe somebody was down there. The hard part is, from what I can tell, the moon is full at the north end of its orbit, meaning when it's at the Tropic of Cancer, and it's new at the south end of its orbit. So it would be hard to get a video of that. It's going to be during the day, number one, if you're in the South, and you're going to have to, the 3 days that it's a new moon would be there. So it'd be hard to get, you can get a 24-hour video, I think, but getting longer than that, probably difficult. And are the directed energy weapons more powerful in Antarctica? I don't know. The plasma sun could have been a directed energy weapon. I don't know. Anyway, that looks like all of them. Thank you guys for understanding. And again, I don't have any hard feelings towards even the people saying that we faked it, or people that I thought were friends that have shown themselves not to be so much. I don't have hard feelings. I get it. We're very skeptical. Sometimes you can be too skeptical, and this is just an example of that. That not everything is fake. This trip wasn't fake. We tried to show you that it wasn't. And if that didn't work, well, then, what can we really do? But another thing is just the moving of the goalposts is something people need to watch out for. We never went down there and said anything about live video at all. I didn't even think it was possible. You can hear on my landing footage when we land the plane, I said, there's no way we can live stream from here. That's a joke. I was proven to be wrong on that. But what I'm saying is then we have people now saying, where's the 24-hour live stream of the sun? It's like, okay, so now it's just now you want to see that, but it's like, we never said that. We didn't even think we'd be able to live stream. So it's always like moving. If we would add that, people would say, where's the 5 day? Where's the 3 day? So just be careful about what you're requiring of people. I mean, I don't think there's any live streams from Antarctica anywhere on YouTube, except for me and then, Toon and Austin, the people that were down there. But that should be pretty crazy in and of itself. People should be like, wow, that's awesome that you guys got to go down there and live stream from Antarctica, something that none of us have seen in 10 years. We haven't seen one person live stream from Antarctica. We went and did that. And instead of getting a way to goes, we got you guys are shills and King Nico is the new Flat Earth King, that kind of thing. Wait, is there more? Is this more questions or am I confused? No, we're at the bottom. All right. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me, but I would love to hand it off to Alan. You're in good hands with Alan. He's awesome. Like I said, some of the best presentations have been his, and I think Shane is ace. And I've always loved Zack. Austin's, the best in the business. So I think GLOBEBUSTERS is going to be great. And I think that if we get it back to more of Bob Nodell's kind of tutelage, which was a science first kind of approach, because if we're going to take over the globe, it's going to have to be debated or in a scientific sphere, if you will, in a scientific auditorium. And so it's just never going to take over if we just have words, if we just have derogatory things, calling people globetards, globe cucks, then we'll be here in 10 years. It's just not. If you really feel like the flat earth is the truth and it's going to take over the globe, then we have to be able to have ample ammunition to go against the globe. And I feel like we did, and now I feel like I don't. So that's my position there. Anybody else, anything for me?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. I appreciate everything that you've done. Everything that I've seen from a viewer perspective versus getting to know you better and getting to know you personally. You've always been a man of integrity and honesty. And I've never seen you act out of pocket. You know what I mean? So I appreciate everything that you've done. And, the reason that, for people on the outside perspective that are looking in and they're like, oh, it must be a shill or must, X, Y, Z. I think it's important to remember, we're dealing with like a mutually exclusive observation, right? That requires an answer, right? We might not have one at the moment, but it's certainly, not having one, like you said, it's affecting you and how your, your ability to communicate and flat earth and all that stuff. And you don't want to, contradict yourself. And that's I really respect that about you, man. So
Well,
I got nothing but positive stuff to say, about you.
Yeah. I mean, you've got great knowledge in areas I don't, right? I mean, I can admit that. I can admit that, Shane and Alan could, walk circles around me easily in their knowledge. Same thing with Witsit, So somebody was asking me the other day, are you going to debate Witsit? I'm like, never. Are you fucking kidding me? Stupid asses. It's like, that's called, boxing out of your weight class. No, so I will not be debating with it. But no, I mean, it's the same thing with these guys. They have great knowledge and they're going to be the best to figure this out. It's, it wouldn't be me that figures it out. I thought we had it figured out. And I don't think I do now. So that's just me being honest. And I appreciate you recognizing that. I just don't want to lead people astray. I think they're better off following you guys if they still think there's something here, and they're definitely lying to us. We know that. So where do the lies start and where do they end? That makes it tough. And I just don't want truthers to be at a place where they no longer can find truth. And I feel like we're getting close to there. If we just call everything fake, then that's not really being a truther. That's just being a no truther. Nothing's true, right? Whereas I thought the original idea behind truther was to kind of try and find the truth that's been hidden from us. And again, we have to recognize it's going to be hard. It's not like Austin said, to think that they just left the AE map out for us and they're like, okay, they'll never see us at the UN logo. A little bit naive of us. I mean, again, there's half the people who say, oh, they do everything in plain sight. They do it, revelation of the method. But then we're like, okay, well, if they're really good deceivers, they're probably not doing that. So it's just one of those things where I feel like I don't want to be more lost in 10 years than I am now. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But thanks to everybody. I'm going to duck out. It's been great. This channel's been great. You guys have been great. I hope you keep watching my channel. If not, I understand. If you're a VIP and you're bailing because you're like, well, who's Jeran going to bring on for the VIP hangouts now? I'm sure we can find somebody, but or else you just have to hang out with me on every first and third Saturday. So yeah, keep an eye on my website, jeranism.com, and the channel. And for now, I'm going to keep doing the Friday show and try to start a radio station with a bunch of the people I think that are giving good information, that don't talk about other channels, that don't make it about drama, that don't make it about he said, she said, let's talk about this person being a shill. And I just don't think any of that got anywhere. Think about it. We've talked about shills for 10 years. We've caught zero. There's been zero shills caught, unless you count Eric today. So I'm going to bow out, but thank you guys a bunch. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeran.
Yeah, man.
Thanks,
Much
man.
love, much love, bro. Jeran, you're my boy. Always got Jeran's back. And
I told Austin I think I want to do another summit, and we'll do a geocentric summit. We'll get all the geocentric heads there, and we'll do a geocentric summit. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, I think everyone should always speak their truth, man. We got your back. The real one's got your back. The rest is just, whatever. Water
Okay,
on.
love you guys so much. Appreciate that. Thanks so
All
much.
right, brother.
Yeah.
Later.
All right,
wait.
Shane, you got a presentation for everybody? Or are you trying
Yeah. So I was gonna say, is he still gonna host debates? Because I kind of need a neutral platform. He was really good for that. Is he still doing that?
Maybe.
Crap! I should have asked.
If he's not interested, I know someone who might pick it up.
Oh, because we got Immortal
Yeah.
Ones debate with Matt.
Yeah, I already got a name for my debate show. It's called Clash
Nice.
of the Wits. Clash of the Wits.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And I will be dressed as a judge
With glasses, of course.
in a wig. In a gown. All right. Well, if you want to share screen, go ahead. If anyone's got anything they want to say before Shane presents, you're still wanting to present. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sure. All right. I'll allow it.
Nice. Yeah, Shane's gonna do a quick prezi on optics, specifically bottom-up obstruction. Optics is going to be a big part of discussion moving forward. So it'll be nice to have a nice foundational baseline to recap an introduction to the subject and maybe present some new things that haven't been seen before to help give some better examples. So with that said, whenever you're ready, Shane.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a good opportunity to go back to basics, right? Some of the fundamental arguments that we herald. And I think the best way to frame them is with the new null hypothesis, right? So again, you have your two competing hypotheses that are mutually exclusive. H naught over here, Earth is planar. Measurements of curvature are dependent on celestial bodies, meaning implications meaning that curvature is an optical effect. We'll be providing evidence for this circumstance tonight, curvature being an optical effect. And then you have the competing hypothesis H1, right? Earth is globular and measurable of curvature is independent of celestial bodies, meaning physical geometric Earth curve would be present. And we'll be trying to find evidence for this, but probably, we won't be able to falsify it, but we won't be able to provide evidence for it either, right? And so if we go through here, that's just a cool song we had from earlier. If we're going to be illustrating how we have perspective on an orthographic scale, we would, commonly depict it like this, right? When you're an observer looking out towards the horizon, you get your flat horizon. We have these semicircles of view that we use to describe it. What they actually would be is a subset of mathematics called projective geometry, right? So it's just geometric properties that remain unchanged under projective transformations, and it's comparable to Euclidean, but it's not Euclidean, right? So unlike Euclidean, it operates in special settings, which you actually called projective space, and then compared those to Euclidean points, right? So when we have, the key distinction is that we allow for like points of infinity, essentially, right? In Euclidean space, we can represent points of infinity in a given dimension. So when we go to trying to orthographically represent this, well, we have a little bit of an issue, right? Because we have spherical eyeballs. So we can say that, you know, spherical versus planar geometry. We can use orthographic linear geometry to represent it on a local scale, you know, shortly. And that's just the way they would be accurately represented. So if we want to represent our 3D view, you know, of perspective, we have to use this orthographic viewpoint. And mathematically, it would check out as well. So we would think about it like this, right? If you have a cone of vision extending from the eye, the outer limit would be the field of view, and you have all these different aspects that would apply based on your eye level. Now, when we're talking about bottom-up obstruction specifically, we're talking about as a function of observer height, right? So we did previous presentations on angular size, angular resolution, Rayleigh's criterion. That's just the angular resolution of the human eye when things become unresolvable in the distance, right? We're going to use that a little bit differently, but we're going to first go through the other things that affect angular size, right? So distance, obviously, the main factor of determining angular size, how far you are to an object. Angle of view, of course, affects angular size. So whether you're close to the object or you're way above it, right? So again, observer height. And of course, height from the object also affects angular size. This would be another example of how it would slant it, right? Changing a rotation of it would also change the angular size of an object. Of course, a simple rotation would change it, meaning that the angle is subtended, shrinks. The basic position is this right here, right? Receding objects appear to vanish bottom first because the top of the object is further from the level of the eye than the bottom. Or said differently, your eye level is closer to the bottom than it is the top. In all these circumstances, you know, when you have bottom-up obstruction or bottom-up disappearance as a facet of perspective, it's a direct repercussion of the observer height being closer to the bottom horizon than the top. And we can sort of prove this. We can offer real-life examples. We can mathematically represent it. And we can show the inverse, meaning that you can show top-down obstruction if you were, say, in a hallway or to look up a building similarly constricted, right? So the basic argument is that if you're at eye level right here, you have these two angles representing, you know, when the top and bottom of an object would disappear. And if you're right in the middle, they compress equally, meaning that the angles compress equally, they disappear proportionately. The same amount from the top disappears from the same amount from the bottom, the further it goes. That's only and only if you're in the middle of the frame. Right? Anything else, and you have a differing of disappearance, either the top or the bottom, depending on if you go towards the top or towards the bottom. For like at the beach observations of every day, of course, our skybox is way up here and our viewer is way down here. So we're almost always closer to the bottom than the top. And of course, this is just another representation of the differential of the angle compression for the top and the bottom for an observer that is absolutely at equal, right? So observer height's in the middle, equal top, equal bottom. Let's see here. Again, I should have probably specified. This is mostly taken from Life is Short and his video Angular Resolution in Our World, a hugely influential, I think it's a 3.5-hour video. He did all these optics, he did all the math, he explained it really well. Most of this comes
amazing
from
video.
Absolutely, everybody should watch that. I should have specified from that. Hugely influential in my understanding of how perspective works, right? So to illustrate this, it has a nice GeoGebra model. Let's try to use it this time, right? So the unequal angles compressing equally, right? So if we were in an observer, let's see, over here, we had equal, right? Only here in the absolute middle of the frame could the top and the bottom disappear equally. And again, that never happens. What mostly is what you see is something like this, right? Where this would be the bottom and this would be the top. They're so unequal that the rate of compression is so drastically favors the bottom. We get bottom-up obstruction almost equally. To use what we know as Rayleigh's criterion, right, where you get so far away, 2 points that are indistinct become 2 points that are distinct rather become indistinct and unresolvable depending on the distance, right? 2.1 degrees is typically one for the human eye. What we're going to do with this, though, is think about it in terms of occupying space, right? So we'll go back to our theory of projective geometry, and we're saying that angular resolution means that these 2 points become indistinguishable from one another. That means that the distance and the objects and the data represented between them, when they become merged, the data becomes lost, i.e., this becomes indistinguishable. So as a facet of Rayleigh's criterion and projective geometry, the amount of bottom of a structure literally becomes unobservable or unresolvable as a result of angular resolution limits, right? So this is just a orthographic representation of how that would happen. How we would put it in real life terms is say there's a building here, right? And we use the same, these 2 points with Rayleigh's criterion become unresolvable. We lose the bottom of this building at this rate, at this predictable orthographic rate, right? So angular resolution as a direct dynamic cause of the loss of bottom-up obstruction. To put it a different way, in a hallway.
Real quick, this isn't just your eye. This is any type of viewing apparatus with a circular aperture. So pretty much everything, unless you get a rectilinear camera, which are rare. Yeah, you're going to get this type of diffraction no matter what. It happens in cameras, telescopes, everything.
Yep. And this is the best way to represent it is through a hallway. You can draw a hallway. So you have a backing, you have a top and a bottom, and you can represent the eye. And here, as you can see, when it's closer to the bottom, these angles, meaning the compression angle is steeper down here than it is up here. And that is purely a facet of the observer height, right? That is the only thing that is changing, the eye line. A nice way to sort of draw it as well is here. This is our boy Amish drew this here, but we have the same hallway on the right and the left, right? And the same distance. And you have the compression from the top meeting the floor much steeper than it does from the bottom, meaning that you have bottom up obstruction much faster than you have top due to the angle and the height of your observer. Now we can test that by trying to falsify it, right? We're going to try to do, well, if that's true, then the inverse should be true, right? You should be able to have top-down obstruction if you have a top-down opportunity. And I think that that's best answered with top buildings, right? Buildings that have a lot of floors, skyscrapers, when you go right underneath them. If you imagine a person in like the topmost floor waving a flag out, if you're like 20 feet from it, you can see the flag. If you walk closer, you'll lose that flag. So that information becomes lost due to angular compression now from a top-down view as you approach a building. So we've now substantiated that it's an optic effect because we know this building isn't curved. It's not an effect of geometric curvature. It is an effect of optics, and it's angular compression, right? So we have the top angle compressing steeper than the bottom, meaning we're losing information from the top down. So if we lose information from the top of the building well before the bottom, and now we've sort of offered substantive evidence that that's an optical effect. So I went out and did it myself, right? Here's a building near where I live, and I went out and took a picture and then moved closer and then saw the information from the top floors be compressed as I went closer to it. So exactly acting out this image, you know, when we have angular compression from the top down, we see exactly what we predict. Oh, look, this information, which was viewable before, is now unresolvable due to the limits of angular resolution and the points between these two floors becoming unresolvable and merging together, right? So we take what we started with and we just kind of flip it and we apply it to this view, right? So this is the same points becoming unresolvable as we move closer. So the basic premise there, right, is that equal angles can appear the same and unequal angles cannot, and that equal angles can disappear proportionately and unequal angles cannot. So when you have an observer height that's never in the middle and always near the bottom, you have angles always compressing unequally. You have bottom-up obstruction on a flat plane. Now, we can apply this to the sun real quick, but before we do that, I want to play this video. It's from a channel I found recently. I'm actually not sure of the name. I got to find it. Maybe you guys can explain. I think he explains it really well. I think he offers another explanation for why the sun doesn't decrease in angular size. I think that also has to do with eye level, but I'm curious what everyone thinks about this one. So I think it's only a minute. Hopefully you guys have audio. Let's see here. We can hear that? Do we have audio, maybe? Alan,
Sorry.
Zach?
Sorry. No, I didn't hear anything there.
No audio. Okay.
No, I was muted. Yeah, my bad.
I think I got to do share with audio. There we go. No, it says share with audio. Oh.
Yeah, optics was something that we you can research it and research it and research it and get so far. But once I came up to the atmosphere, looking over long distances, and then a lot of it depends on what the atmosphere is doing at that point and trying to determine that. I mean, they can't do it very well with the best technology they have. Like, look over 10 miles and tell you what is going on, in the fluidness of the atmosphere, what it's actually doing. It's so hard to. Now there's these things called atmospheric seeing charts. It's mostly used for astronomy, but they're all over the plane everywhere. Most observatories will have an atmospheric seeing chart and tell you which direction you can look, because just things like the city lights from a city, 30 miles away can affect how well you see things. The wind blowing in certain directions can create turbulence, because you got to remember it is like a fluid, and it's not just one type of gas being blown around. It's multiple types with all kinds of stuff in it. So yeah, it gets really complicated. That's where I gave up.
Well, they specifically use all that gray area and all that unexplained empiricism, all the things that are unquantifiable, but we know exist as the limit of optics, angular resolution, light attenuation, atmospheric opacity. All that actually becomes curvature in the math, right?
Yep.
That's why it's like the unfalsifiable. It's like, okay, well, the null hypothesis kind of puts light on that, and it's like you have to offer specific physical evidence for this. You can't just say the lack thereof is therefore my evidence, as they've been doing, and then wiping all the rest of this under the rug.
Yeah, it's not going to work anymore.
Also, I think I need Wisset to re-show the share because I had doubled it down. I think he said he was walking away, so I might have screwed up the whole thing. He was like, "You guys got this piece. We still need you though."
I'm back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, do you have sharing power?
Yeah, do you need a share? What's up?
I need to reshare. I needed audio for this 1 minute clip.
Send it to me on Discord.
What?
Did you send it to me on Discord?
Oh, just there you go. We're good. See, you got it.
I didn't do anything.
Oh, Wisset's back then?
Yeah, but he shared with a local audio.
So
what happened?
Can you guys hear this?
Now, many people say the sun
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. There we go.
diminish in size and vanish into a tiny dot as it gets further away. But that is not how perspective works, okay? Because we know horizontal parallel lines converge at the horizon. For them to be correct, Cash's eyes would have to be at the same altitude as the sun. If this were the case, then yes, Cash would probably see the sun diminish in size into a tiny little dot until it disappeared. But obviously, we are well below the sun, so we see it go in a downward direction. Now, this video is a time lapse of the sun setting from an airplane. Being in the airplane at over 30,000 feet, this pushes our horizon back extremely far, allowing us to see a greater distance. From this altitude, it becomes more apparent that the sun does diminish in size as it gets further away until it hits the horizon, at which point it completely vanishes. This is exactly what we should expect to see. There's no reason we should expect to see the sun continue to diminish in size until it vanishes into a tiny dot. That is not how perspective works.
Yeah, so what do you guys think about that? Because I hadn't heard it worded like that until that video, and I went, "Oh, that makes a ton of sense to me to word it like that." That's the reason why the sun doesn't obey the traditional law of angular size or compression and changing size.
Yeah, that's a good one. You're echoing, by the way. Reshare without audio.
Yeah. Or we can rap. Einstein took your mind and said it's all relative. Memory is relative. Okay.
Respect.
By the way, I am occasionally having to take care of a biz. So trying to paste
We figured you weren't here at all, so this is helpful. Nice. All right, so yeah, just I can. It's almost to wrap it up here, but it's just us applying the same principle we were going over on perspective to the sun. Of course, if we the skybox is so much higher than us when we're looking at it, that of course it always observes bottom up as a facet of perspective. It gets so far away as emulated by the size of these let's see, co-sized balls here, right? They're number 2 is the same size as 2, and 4 and 4, and 6 is 6, but you can see that they compress at different rates. So the top one gets smaller, slower than the bottom. The bottom gets smaller, faster than the top. So by the 7th number here, the bottom circle is already gone, and the 8th circle is, about this size. So it just shows you as a visual representation how quicker and the rate at which things disappear bottom up as a facet of observer height when looking at the sun. All right, and they use this thing, the sort of the same principle to explain the orthographic view and the side view. And I think this one's a pretty good representation of the sun moon, right? So they do the same thing, the skybox and your observer height, and they sort of orthographically illustrate it over here as it goes farther away and stays farther above you, therefore not changing size, and these lines becoming greater and greater and greater. And then the real life imitation over here of what it should look like. Some real world demonstrations over here. I think this one's one of my favorites from the warehouse, right? The flat warehouse. We don't need sound for this one, but it sits on the flat plane, takes a representation of the sun, moves it via perspective further away until it appears to set into the flat horizon, right? This is a great example of angular resolution and disappears bottom up. I think the Globers came back and they were like, no, that floor is curved. So that's why it looks exactly like it would on the curved Earth, right? Which I think is funny.
Yeah, we've done this so many times. I did this one. I did it with the flashlight even. And you can even see the flashlight like diminish. You know how Dave has the sun and it kind of fades out?
Flat Earth Kitchen, yep.
No, like from his drone.
Oh, the sun fade outs. Yeah.
It does it just like that. It just disappears. I can actually see things behind the light source. Even though the light source is still there in my view, that whole diffraction band just made it disappear. And you can read the bug screen. I was at my job. It was a huge long factory, 400 something feet long.
Is this you then? Is this you?
No.
No, I was like, did I take yours? Because I might have.
No, I always told everybody. Yeah, I always told everybody go ahead and use all my stuff. Yeah, yeah. There's so many people that have done it. Yeah, so many people have done it. It's
same illustration at a warehouse using a laser light. Also, another good one that I like to steal is Flat Earth Needleland. Right, he did the same thing with like netting, imitating flat and parallel with a laser light, and then he just moved the backwards, the back landing, the back spot of it forward and back to imitate rising and setting. All right, genius. Perfect, same effect. When we're offering, positive evidence to support optical curvature, meaning if you're saying that bottom-up obstruction as a facet of curvature is a representation of physical Earth curve, and we're saying, well, no, evidence to the contrary means it's an optical effect, and as such, we should be able to manipulate it and demonstrate it in all these ways. And look, lo and behold, we can replicate it, we can invert it, we can say bottom down, top down obstruction. If it is in fact optical, we should mimic it from a building, we can mimic it from, from netting in a laser light. We should be able to imitate it on a flat warehouse floor with laser lights, and all of these things we can and did do, right? So I think when you're, overall offering evidence to support the dynamic cause, I think we have zero evidence for a physical geometric Earth curve. If we go back to the start, we said that measurements of Earth curve has to be independent of celestial bodies. And the only measurements that actually purport Earth curve get down to geodetic surveying. And of those surveys, the previous dimensions of the Earth has to be known. They make constant corrections to a previously known ellipsoid model. So that is a great example of how it doesn't actually purport to physical Earth measurements. If that was the case, they wouldn't need an ellipsoid model. So I think that the evidence really lines up that all, so-called curvature has always ever been an effect of perspective and mistakenly attributed to curvature in the absence of all the else. That's pretty much it.
The curvature of the Earth is hiding in the curvature of your eye.
Or the sky curves at the exact same rate, but trust me, bro, as the book says.
The
old
Great
optical.
Switcheroo. That's what we called it. We did a real smart guy named Gavin. I think he went by Vortex Puppy on YouTube. He had a channel back in the day. He was an engineer. I think he was from Scotland, but he moved to India for his job. But just real smart guy. And yeah, me, him, and the surveyor Chris Van Matre, and another gentleman from Australia named Glenn, really smart guy, had a big long conversation, and they turned it into, like, I think it was an hour and 15 minutes maybe, or something like that. But yeah, he just goes through like all this stuff that you guys are talking about.
Yep,
I
that
learned
was
so much talking to those guys.
Yeah, I think it was on Life is Short's video for Angular Resolution in a World. He links the Vision Convo as part of the source, and he talks about it in the video, and he tells everyone to go check it out. And I think that's the video that you're in then, because it starts with that image that I started with the eyeball and the linear vision, and they went all into vision and Euclidean and all the good stuff, really.
Yeah, these guys were I felt so humble just being there. They're, a 25-year surveyor and an engineer. Yeah, he had some really cool software that he was using where he could take a picture of something, like that you see, and then it would put all the lines and measure them and measure all the angles and everything for you from any point of view it was really cool software that he had. But I learned so much. So much.
Nice.
Yeah. The Great Switcheroo. I'll go find it and drop it in chat for people.
The Great Switcheroo actually applies to a great many things. So, like what they did with vision, I think it applies to. It also applies to the celestial sphere and the geographic reticule, right? The model as a globe just created from the sky, meaning that a 1-for-1 translation happened from right ascension declination to longitude, latitude. They even call it, the right angle, right hour, whatever addition. So that there's a 1-for-1 correlation there. I think that's a great switcheroo because they created one model, which is, theoretical. And from that model created another theoretical model. And now both people think both of those are real. People think the celestial sphere is real. People think the globe Earth is real. The great switcheroo is abundant.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't that this CIA, or at least it was their goal in 1981? Was it William Casey, the director of the CIA, who said, once everything the American people believe is false, we'll have completed our goal.
Yep. Check.
Shout out to the CIA. Holding it down in the streets.
Shout out to the Mockingbirds. You guys know who you are.
Yeah, I think they've overstepped their bounds with all that stuff, though. It's just with the internet now. I mean, as much as they love having everybody connected and, sharing where they are and how they're feeling and all that kind of stuff, all the information they're getting, I think they would put the internet back in the box if they could. It was like opening Pandora's box. It gave us the ability to do this right here.
Barring that, how about we enable biometric scanning to use it, and then that solves the problem too.
Well, yeah, I mean, just even doing that, just giving us the ability to speak to people like this on a platform and not have to stand on the milk crate on the corner, it's different now. The whole idea of information and sharing and this and that, the mainstream media is a joke now, and they know it. They even talk about it. How do we get people to trust us again, and this and that, and yada yada yada. The information world is changing. That's why I really have to censor myself on what information I'm taking in is even true, by a lot of the people that I do watch on the internet now. Because I used to always be into politics, not so much picking a side and rooting for my team, but watching the show with an outside perspective. Like, okay, what are they going to do now? How are they going to get this stuff passed and this and that. And it's different now. It really is. There's a lot of mockingbirds that are here on YouTube or, X or this or that. There's a lot of mockingbirds that are not sitting up there in a suit and tie at a table with CNN or whatever going by in the bottom. So yeah, they're changing their game too to try to fight it. But yeah, I don't think they're pleased with the way things are going in the information war. 95% of all wars throughout history, 95% of them is information.
Well, how's that for a conspiracy? I think that the 24-hour sun footage was withheld as part of a information warfare to put us in a low sense of security so that we could be right here today. There's no way that, 8 years ago, no one could find the 24-hour. And actually, we would stream it, but because of bandwidth, we can't stream it. And that's a really realistic, viable reason why no one has any of this evidence. It's like, no, obviously looking back, I have to say that was to get us to this point. And that's, conspiratorial, but probably realistic.
Yeah, no, because I was there when, in 2015 when it was brought up, and I was like, wait a minute, I go looking and there's one video of a guy from his tent showing his clock, and then he makes a little 10-second clip it and says, look at the sun. And then the sun is like almost in the exact same place over the mountain, the same mountain. And he's saying it's like 6 hours later. So it didn't even look like a real one, but there was no 24-hour anything like that at all. And that's what people do. Scientists go places and be like, I'm going to be the first to document this phenomena. I mean, that's one of the things people do. So yeah, you would think it would be there.
So in an act of controlling information, I just think that they controlled that information as well. We kind of fell for it. That's kind of my position on it, right? Otherwise, like they would have been like, oh, they don't believe it. All right, you know what? Withhold it. Why don't we have it? Tell them bandwidth, right? Like just get them going, because of course no one believes that. And then we had the one that was obviously fake. There was one that had like no views that now I'm looking back on going, maybe that one actually was legit and we just fake and gate it on site. Because I think there's like seeing the amount of that going on now, I'm like, oh, maybe we had done this in the past erroneously.
Yeah, when the one that got hundreds of thousands of views were proven fake, we were like, oh man, get out of
Yeah, false confidence, right? Therefore, all the other ones we know are now fake. That's kind of where we went with it.
More so, after a certain amount of fakery, I just couldn't blindly trust any of them. Iru.
Yep.
Hello guys, how you doing? Sorry I'm
Yo.
late. I was on a live stream in my channel, and then I saw Jeran was here, and now I enter and he go away, right?
Yeah, he's been gone for about an hour.
Okay. It was a lot of time. Yeah, I need to finish to see. I just take a look while I'm eating my dinner, and I just listen a couple of things about 40 minutes before champagne and then say hello everybody. I don't know how much time you're gonna stay, but I'm enjoying.
Cool, man. What's your take on all this? You want to kind of give people your take on everything?
About the Jeran's position or
Whatever you want to talk about. Antarctica,
no.
the trip, 24-hour sun.
Yeah. Well, I give my opinion. I make like 3 live streams in my Spanish channel because, of course, this is shock to the Spanish people or the Spanish community. But this was a thing that we discuss a lot of times between friends, because I live in Argentina, and you don't need to go to Antarctica to see not the 24 hours, but to see how the orientation of the sun is in the sunrise and in the sunset. And that, of course, is inverse of what Gleason predicts. But I keep my position. I mean, I feel that I have so many things. In my case, the starting point is that the heliocentric model is created by the church, and I don't trust church. I know there could be things that match some type of globe observation, but that point alone at least keep me in question, and I don't take the position that we live in the globe until I see the globe. I am not became flat earthers because I have some doubts about the globe. I became a flat earther, first of all, because that is what I experienced. What happened in the sky, I'm not going to say that this is still a mystery, but it never take me away from my flat earth path. And again, things like, for example, going up 40 kilometers and the stars disappears, and I saw so many times astronaut line, and the science, the orthodox science, tried to defend that position, saying that it's the aperture of the camera. But then we have experience like the William Schaffner in Blue Origin, and it doesn't matter if it's just a camera or the or the human eye. You cannot see stars once you go up, and that is a contradict, at least in my opinion, the heliocentric model of how light behaves in the vacuum. Then I talked directly with Felix Van Garner in 2022, and is on record because it's still on live in YouTube, and the guy doesn't see 39 kilometers, and he didn't experience or see the curvature. He addressed like he said that, well, I was so busy thinking in how I'm gonna be that champ and how to survive to the falling speed that I don't pay attention, but I don't recall to see the curvature or see the stars. I just dropping things on the table, right? Then I have all the mechanics of fluids. I keep my position that the water never curve, how the globe predicts the atmospheric behavior and all the gases. For me, in the globe model, it's not apply. And they were very smart because they just take our attention to the sky, which is in like a religion. The savior came from the sky, and the savior of the heliocentric model is also came from the star or the sky, and it's the same analogy and the same archetype, which is the sun. The sun represents the savior in the religions paradigm, and also the sun represents the savior of the heliocentric in the science or scientific scientism paradigm for them. So I have so many things, the long distance observation, that for me it's applied to the experience that I have, which is a flat stationary Earth. Then, of course, if someday I can go into space, and see with my own eyes how the horizon start curving itself and became a sphere, and then I get back to the Earth and I need to say what I experience. Of course, I'm gonna say the truth. It's a sphere, man. I went to space. Somebody paid me the final experience, which was taking a spaceship with the Dragon capsule and went to the ISS, and I see it, spherical. Well, that is another game. But for me at least, we are all taking opinions about what we see in the sky, and that is just a little tiny part of the puzzle. And of course, you can take your position, and maybe for a lot of people, the fact that the suns make 24 hours in the south is enough to get back or to conclude that the Earth is a sphere. Besides that, you are trying to speculate with observation of the sky in a place that nobody can go. But I respect that, of course.
Yeah, so I'm about to start a Send the First Flat Earther to Space campaign. And I'm not joking,
that for
I'm not
me,
joking at all.
no, that for me, I said in the last show, this is not a final experiment. For me, at least, it's a really great observation, but for me, it's not an experiment. But I think we're still addressing things from the ground. And supposedly we have the technology, and supposedly we have people in the private sector that cannot take you to the space, at least the first 100 kilometers, which is $2 million. And then, of course, it doesn't matter how much money you have. I don't think nobody going to take you to the ISS. That's my opinion. But at least you can go 100 kilometers, because supposedly after the last moon landing, we must have already holidays in the moon, but we are still waiting for that.
Did you hear, Iru, that Elon is saying the moon is a waste of time and they want to go straight to Mars?
Yes, I heard that, and we have a section in our radio show on Thursdays that we call fake news, and we read like the last 10 or 20 news article news of the digital networks addressing things of the space, and it's still the same bullshit. It's still the same promise that we're going to go there, or we see a gravitational lensing, or we discover an exoplanet like 40,000 million kilometers away. It's the same. It's a religion. I cannot. When I wake up to the flat Earth, I become aware that to belong to the globe Earth, you must be addressed only as a religion. And I am not the religious guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to go to space, quote unquote, and see what happens and film it in all kinds of different ways, and 360 cameras, but regular cameras, all kinds of stuff. Document everything. Like with the momentum of going here, and them trying to push this narrative of flat earthers debunks themselves. Oh, flat earthers still think it's flat. Like, yo, send me to space. If I see the Earth is a globe, then I'd say, okay, Earth's a globe, right? And I'd have to get far enough away to see the entire thing and know that, like, with the cupola or whatever, they admit that and make it look like it's really curved when it's not. But yeah, send me to space. Send me to space, and I'll come back and land down and be like, yeah, yo, it's flat. You know, you send me on that Blue Origin thing and it looks flat. I'm gonna come down. Everyone's like anticipating me saying it's a globe, and I'm be like, it's still flat, and the whole world can hear it. So, you know, shoot me up there because I'm not gonna lie about anything. I'll tell the truth either way. So I'll even do the Blue Origin one. I'm dead serious. I'm about to push this super hard with the momentum that comes from this, and then like the Candace Owens stream and other stuff. I'll be like, but you know, hey, if they want to send me to space, tell them do it, because in their paradigm, if Elon Musk was legit, space travel is legit. Like in their paradigm, that's like a perfect for what Elon would do. If you believe that character that is portrayed as Elon Musk, the troll of sending a flat earther to space, um, to definitively like debunk flat earth or however they would spin it, dude, that's exactly like something he would do. Something that just seems like insane or off the wall. That's the character he portrays. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, start a petition, go out there and do it. I mean, apparently, if I just say I don't believe something or I'm unconvinced of something, I get a free trip there. Send me to space. So, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. But I would
Yeah,
like to know.
I remember one of, for me, the control damage. I think that is how you call in English community. After the first 2 or 3 private flights to the Karma line, quote unquote Karma line, it's a line as the Karma sphere, but then they bring this YouTuber, like the has like, I don't know, 3 million or 5 million subscribers. It's a team of people that make like games, difficult games. You know, you're throwing a ball from 200 meters to trash. I don't know how the name it is, but they invited this guy, which was the only one that was allowed to film with his own GoPro camera the experience inside the cabin, because you already know that you cannot go up there with your own camera devices. Everything is recorded by the cameras of the spacecraft in Blue Origin. But this was the only guy, and the first thing when he touched the ground and get out from the capsule, the first thing that he said once the journalist of Blue Origin put a mic on the mouth was, "I see the curvature of the Earth." So, you know, and it's on YouTube. And we have the experience of William Schaffner, which for me was one of the most profound that, you know, address the topic that, well, something that I cannot expect, and you know, all these things about the universe and the planet and the galaxy, that is not true. It's all black. It's all black, and down there is Mother Earth. I don't know, that's life and that's death. And it was so shocking and becomes so viral that right now, if you open a Google or an Internet Explorer and you type the perspective effects of William Schaffner, they put a name like it has some kind of mental disorder, which is called the perspective effect. They even take our title in terms of the perspective effect, but now it's become in Spanish community. You type what was that psychological effects that William Shatner suffered when he went up to space and see the Earth from above, and they put a name because it was so shocking to be up there with that blackness, completely blackness without any point of reference, that it was shocking. So to close the idea, I mean, it was it will be super great if you can. I really trust on you. I really trust on Jeran. Of course, I really trust on all the Globebuster team. For me, I consider my friends, my closest friends in the English community, and I not only respect, but I really appreciate how much time all of you take to keep pushing the educational bias on the fighting the globe. That will be great if someone like of this team can go to space and bring the testimony. That will be awesome.
Yeah, and I have like the 2 definitive tests, like to send the radio wave horizontally and have the dead zone. Yeah, the skip zone test, and then the gyroscope has to tip and then flip over on a long flight. Those are 2 definitive tests, right? Like if I shoot high frequency radio waves and microwaves horizontal over a body of water, and then we receive them in the skip zone. Tell them, girl.
She's saying,
And,
don't make it weird,
that's
bro.
a geometric representation, Aurora, can you say hey? No, she's not there yet. All right. Anyway, yeah. So I think we have big things coming. There you go. She said hey.
Get it, girl. So cute. I got some books I got to get to you and Jeran. I put all 7. Did I say that last week? Did I tell you guys? All 7 of the first series, the nature series of my children's nursery rhymes books, I put them all into a big hardback. It's like 196 pages.
Oh, nice. I
Yeah.
think you did say that.
Yeah, I want to get one to you and one to Jeran, and there's a few other people in the community I want to send one to.
No, that'd be cool, man. Aaliyah is obsessed with reading books. So.
And now I'm working on the machines, and I just got done with trucks. I'm just waiting to hear back from the publisher, make sure it's all okay.
Yeah, like I don't know why people are so confused and perplexed by this. Like, I'm not convinced the Earth's a globe in the slightest. Like, I mean, dude, we geometrically falsified it. Like, the surface of the Earth isn't curved at the rate that it needs to curve. I just don't see why that's so perplexing to people. Like, it is interesting that we live in a realm where like things start to tilt over at an angle, and then I guess seemingly seem to flip in a way towards the outside. But we've already known that. I've known that for a long time, right? Like we have southern star trails, and also when you get past the equator, the sun starts to set off the other way. We have long duration days. Like I've already known that. If that was some major thing for me where like I thought that made the Earth a globe, I wouldn't be a flat earther already before this, like no, we geometrically falsified the claimed curvature of the Earth. It doesn't add up at all. And provably, the Earth is not moving. Like definitively, provably. And I hate to break it to people, man, that doesn't just somehow dissipate overnight, because we need to figure out. We could live in a freaking like electromagnetic kaleidoscope for all I care. It doesn't change the fact that the surface of the Earth has been measured flat, that we have geometrically falsified the claim that it's curving, and they just make up ad hoc excuses that are physically impossible to try to dismiss those things, and that we've empirically proven the Earth's not moving with interferometry and many other methods. You can freaking just throw some water in a telescope and prove the Earth's not moving. So, I mean, that's where we are. This can only be beneficial in the long run because we sat here and speculated about it for so long. And now we know. Now we know, dude, you go to that location, you see the sun do a circle around you. So yeah. Anyway, that's how I feel. People keep predicting all these things. It's like, hey, chill out, buddy. Chill out. Right?
For anybody who's really good at digging back on the internet at old stuff, I remember something from, it was like early internet, Yahoo something or other, late 90s or real early 2000s, and something about a scientist from NASA in Antarctica lost his mind and was telling people that the Earth had 3 different suns. And I cannot find this anywhere, not even a mention of it anywhere. But I can't forget it either. It's one of those things, because I was really big into NASA back then as a fanboy. And I was like, wow, this guy really lost his rocker, saying the Earth has 3 suns. Come on, dude. It's the year 2000. We got the ISS and this and that and satellites, and yeah, we know how many suns the Earth has.
Yep.
But yeah, I can't forget that now. And the way Cami, we've done the magnetics where you take 2 different poles and create a third pole in the center. And in her model, the way she's been explaining it, we would have 2 places on the outer edge where you would see it circle like this. So yeah, there's so much to so
Well,
many
that's what we
pieces
need to
the
be doing. That's
puzzle.
what people need to be doing, right? Like, I mean, I want to do kind of like the FE Core 2.0, but make it legit, and it's all crypto. If you want to donate it with like regular fiat, it just transforms it. It transfers it to crypto, and it's all transparent, blockchain, no questions about funding. It's all literally publicly accessible and trackable. It's a blockchain, just a public wallet address. Everyone can see what goes in there and fund the test, fund the models. People need to come to the drawing board and figure out what's going on, and not just make up any possible thing like the globe Earth does or the heliocentric model does. Like, figure it out, work through it, go find supportive evidence, test the theories, and we need to just figure out what's going on. Do further tests, et cetera, et cetera. Set up debates, professional, in person, rent out university auditorium debates. Pick back up the FEIC. I'm gonna do that. Like 2025, we need to step our game up, and we're about to have more attention than ever. That's what we need to do. It's pretty simple. And then I'll say this is pretty funny to give you an idea of how much Duffy understands this entire conversation. Griffin says, I repeat, a 24-hour sun does not invalidate the 10 years of observations and experiments that nullifies the globe's proposed radius value by not documenting any visible or measurable curvature, and it does not change the definition of the biblical word firmament and how it's used over 500 times in Scripture. That's what he said to Duffy. Duffy says, straw man, this has never been and will never be about the globe's radius value. If the globe's radius value is wrong, it's still a globe. The firmament could be a spherical firmament over a spherical Earth. There's zero evidence for the flat Earth, and the final experiments end flat Earth. 24-hour sun, 24-hour moon, south celestial pole, geographic south pole, and so much more. Flat Earth has no answer for any of it. So I just thought that was funny. Duffy said that it's not about the radius value at all, and if the radius value is wrong, it doesn't matter. It's still a globe. So he just fundamentally doesn't understand it. And people were like, am I supposed to put some weight in the fact that a bunch of globers are saying this definitively proves the globe? They claim sunsets.
Yeah, they've been claiming that since the beginning, that this does and that does, and yeah.
Dude, as Indio pointed out, right? He was like, put it in terms of a logical syllogism and be like, okay, so if there is a 24-hour sun, Earth's a globe. There is 24-hour sun, therefore Earth's no. If you actually formulate it, it forms affirming the consequent logical fallacy, right? That's why the scientific approach to it is via null hypothesis, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we definitely, this is so good because everyone was kind of internalizing and objectifying this model, like objectifying the Earth and internalizing this model. And I don't think, like, I know a lot of people don't agree with this, whatever, it's fine. But from a scriptural perspective, Earth means land. It just means land, which brought up out of the water. And there's supposedly water everywhere, above us, below us, fountains of the deep, bottomless pits, which I think is like a tourist field, center of a tourist field. Water all around its land was brought up out of it. We objectified it, put it in a little model, took the globe, flattened it, took like the world map that we were given by the kings and not allowed to publish anything outside of that longitude and latitude system, and like ran around internalizing a model, actualizing the position of the sun. To me, that's like such a trick. It's a deception. So now if it gets toppled over, they can try to equate that to the falsification of this entire awakening, right? Or somehow a rebuttal to the falsification of the globe. No. And like, I'm not, I mean, we're not going to fall for that. And some people, they may have put all their chips in on that AE map / model basket, but I didn't. Never did. Never even claimed it.
I mean, I disagree with that even being a model, right? Because people say the AE map is the flattened out globe, and that wouldn't be strictly correct, right? What would be strictly correct is that all projections are from the same coordinate system. We can call it the celestial coordinate system. We can call it geographic long lat. In any case, it's a spherical starting point, right? So when they're saying that the AE map model is accepted, does that mean that people thought that Australia was that size? Does that mean that they thought like the other aspects of the increasing meridians were also an aspect of reality? No, it's an aspect of the facet of the tool. And I think at its core, we know we don't live on a model, right? So you can still continue to use a tool. And to say that the AE model is debunked is silly, right? Because it's not a model, it's just an aspect of a projection. As I showed you before, man, you can move the focal point of that AE projection until you get to your dual pole projection, right? And then you can have Antarctica as a continent at the bottom. And it's the same azimuthal equidistant projection
Yeah,
tool.
but well,
Are you
people did
saying
build a
that one?
model over top of it, right? Like they built a model, quote unquote, around it. They did like they put the sun over top of it and actualized its position,
It's ground
right?
position, right? That still works.
Sure, that does still work. My point is like they then began to actually model things out and extrapolate for subsequent claims. And I mean, the reality though is like I don't disagree with anything you said, for the most part, other than like people did kind of end up making it a model and throwing a dome on it. But like, I think that sorry, just a second.
No worries, man. It's
You
gonna be
think
such a
that
handful.
if you have the imagine that you have the possibility to launch a balloon on Antarctica and leave it up there 24 hours, the sun is going to circle the complete balloon.
I think so. Yeah, but I mean, I would love to do that, but you
Yeah.
already got helium down there.
No, of course. I just
Yeah.
pointed out.
No,
Yeah.
I think so, man. Yeah, the thing just never, obviously it just kept doing it the whole every second we were there, and then I popped out with the solar filter as soon as we touched down. It looks like the sun kind of flipped up upside down.
No, that for sure. No, but I mean that never set because from the ground maybe has a and when the suns go down not beyond the horizon, go down in terms of the relative position of what you're watching at certain time and then in the night. And I would love to see that behavior from without the atmospheric
Oh yeah,
amplifications.
get up higher without the atmo, and then kind of a
Yeah,
different vantage point.
yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, in terms of physics, right? Physics, we were always describing the kinematics. Even our models only had observations, which were built on the sun. The sun's azimuth and elevation, I still maintain, is model independent, right? You can see it start to crest in an Antarctic south of the equator, sure. And that the globe model does explain that. But the actual observation itself, I don't think belongs to either model. I think you can make models based on sun observations all you want, right? I don't think that concludes either way, but.
Guess what I meant was like the observational position of the sun and a map is not really a model in terms of like reality at all, right? Like you model different physical phenomena. So the containment of gas pressure, right? Like show me gas pressure gradient without a container. You never can. Like instead of deflecting to the fact there's a gradient, show me one. We can replicate a gas pressure gradient in a little terrarium, in a container. We can replicate the containment for the water. We can replicate the containment for light, if you want to put it that crudely, like Joe Hamby does. I mean, we can physically replicate the physical phenomena intel within, and that's really what modeling things are. A map is not a model, right? Just like you said, just a projection. It was given to us by the kings, right? And they said, you stay within this
That
system, buddy."
coordinate system, yeah. You want maps, you can have any map you want. You just got to project this coordinate system. Have at it. Good luck.
Exactly. So it's like, I mean, like Joe Hamby says this, and he's correct. I mean, we're like many steps ahead of any quote unquote globe model, which doesn't actually exist. Just in fundamentally on its face, it's like show me gas pressure without a container, can't do it. Right? Show me an object free falling, change direction perpetually without any forces involved. You can't do it. Show me all of these claims, and you simply can't actually show them. Right? Show me a spherical object wobbling 4 different ways. So, I mean, they can't even show the physical possibility of things. We can do many different ways. Like I could rotate a medium and then throw an object in it, and it'll start continually rotate around with it, right? Magnetic levitation, quantum locking, electrostatic propulsion, ionic winds could be utilized for this. Like the ether wind could be akin to a whirlpool. We can replicate physical mechanisms for orbits. I could show you a magnetic field and show you that things move in relation to that. I can show you electrostatic orbits, all very real physical things that we can utilize, though it all within a superfluid or any type of fluid with little velocity or viscosity. They can't do any of these things. Literally, they can do none of those things. They can't even explain an orbit. So, I mean, the fight is far from over. I think it's awesome that they're taking their little victory laps. I think it's awesome that the mainstream is going to take the bait and really bite in on this and bring me on these shows.
More
because-
eyes. Yeah, just more
Yeah.
eyes to it. Let Austin
Like-
go up there and explain how everything else doesn't work. All the things that
Exactly.
don't work.
Exactly.
let
Like, there
people
is
hear that.
objectively a major deception here. Objectively, not even one single part of me. I know.
That's right. She
even-
knows.
Not even one single part of me is unsure about that, and this hasn't changed that at all, right? This is a major deception. Cosmological deception is like the biggest deception that exists. It's undeniable, and you have to actually lie and not research it to actually be ignorant of that, right, or to deny it. It's just obvious. I mean, most of these quote unquote astrophysicists and stuff, they'll tell you in their own words that that's what happened, right? Well, yeah, look, we're just gonna hide this because we don't like it. I mean, that didn't change because I saw the sun do a circle.
Exactly. Well said.
Well, all right, these girls are getting to that moment where I need to start throwing them in the bath.
All right.
Mhm. Bath pajamas, brush your teeth. So yeah, anyone have anything they want to okay, I mean, we don't have to wrap up right now. It's up to you guys. If you guys got something you want to show, present, or cover, or any final thoughts of what's coming up, you guys let me know.
Yeah, I'm good with closing out. I got some final thoughts or whatever.
All right, let's just run through and get everyone's closing thoughts. So I'm just gonna pop based on the order I see on the screen. So Zach from Good Times for All, what's going on, brother? What you got coming up this week?
Hopefully my 8th book will be coming out this week, and you can always catch us over at Iron Rail Media Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning, either on YouTube, Rumble. I'm gonna see if I can't get them going to X here, if that'd be a possibility. But we're also on a platform called freeworld.fm. I know they had some tech issues about a week and a half ago where the site was down. It's back up again. Everything's working. But yeah, we're trying to get more and more people over there. They got a bunch of different type of truther channels. It's kind of like TFR used to be. And yeah, we have a lot of fun over there. So and we're allowed to play music because we're on that platform. They have a music license. So we pretty much on YouTube get to play whatever we want without getting taken down. It's pretty cool.
Nice, very cool. Let me go ahead and read these real fast. Hearing Jeran's opinion on the creators, why I never cared about his opinion on FE. Thanks for the $5. Cool story, bro. Jeran, do you denounce Freemasonry and acknowledge that they are a cult that sacrifices children and brainwashes the masses and commits great evil? He's done entire streams exposing them, denouncing them, and even arguing with other people within FE who's tried to defend them. I don't know where you've been. He's denounced them many times on record. Lukey, good day, boys. What are your thoughts on Duffy's recent claims to have collected evidence for gravitation, rotation, and curve while in Antarctica? My apologies if this has been discussed, and thanks again for all your efforts. He claims it's because the weight change didn't actually fully match, that somehow that proves the Earth is spinning and proves gravity. That's just objectively incorrect, and it's called a reification fallacy and affirming the consequent. We have more viable explanations. Again, Aries failure, Michelson, Morley, Michelson, Pearson disproved the claim that it's moving, and they don't even have a viable theory at all, like even in theory. For gravity. So that's a cool story, bro. Ask him what he means by that, and he couldn't tell you. And curve while in Antarctica. Well, I observe mountains with the naked eye. My iPhone falsified the radius value in Punta Arenas, so I don't know what he's talking about. But yeah, they have 15 quote unquote experiments that they're going to drop. None of them are actual experiments. They're all reification fallacies, and we'll obviously pick them all apart. So the most substantial thing that they got for their side was the observation of the sun. Thank you guys for the super chats over on Rockfin. We have $50. Very generous. Thank you so much, Mary Cole. I'm glad you were able to go on the trip. Another great episode. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I would do it again. Probably won't do it again, though. All right. Shane's up next. What do you got coming up this week?
Yeah, we got presentations on Tuesday, right? Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Ether Cosmology. I think this week we got Alan doing Dayton Miller. And then we got Flat Earth Friday every Friday. Of course, my YouTube, Change CMP, everything is accessible at adl.place. So check it out. Always happy to come back and do presentations if you guys are bored, by the way. So thanks for having me on.
What is this I hear about you deleting your databases?
Alan shouldn't be telling people stuff, is what that was. What happened was I reinstalled all of Windows, dude, and I was hasty with my backup folders, which I thought were on a separate subdirectory, which were actually on my C drive, which got wiped. So yeah,
I was
working.
supposed to say something. I mean, well,
Well, no, I
my
mean,
bad.
I didn't tell you
How were you
yet.
gonna hide that?
Just
Well,
mean I didn't tell you yet.
Oh, Leah. Okay, Alan, what's coming up this week, brother?
Well, like Shane said, we got the Prezi for Dayton Miller coming up. A nice little recap on the history of interferometry to kind of round things off. And then Fridays will be Flat Earth Fridays. And Thursday, we're going to introduce Ether Cosmology game night. Like we're going to do like some trivia games or something like that. We'll see how it goes. Try and do some community building.
Nice, very cool. And the moment you've all been waiting for, fighting out of the Spanish corner.
Well,
best
man,
for
thank you.
last, Neru, what you
Yeah,
got coming up?
yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna take holidays. No, I am preparing myself to get back to Argentina in 2 weeks, so I'm gonna be a little busy in terms of putting all together before leaving Europe. Of course, I didn't come back, but 4 months later, so I am happy to go back to Argentina and be in touch with my family, my friends. But beside that, I'm gonna keep doing. I have a few live stream preparing refraction and that kind of stuff. I really love, making 3D models and trying to compare with reality and use some real life experiment in the control environment to mimic that in computer and trying to address that into the contradiction of the heliocentric model. And I have like 2 or 3 of those live stream prepare with simulation. So in terms of the flat earth, I'm going to do that. And I am also addressing a few stuff about crypto based on the anti-crypto token, I mean XRP. So I take a quiet decision, not decisions. I take a few a few steps from my BTC, and well, now I'm getting in exciting with a couple of things of XRP. So I give my opinion in my live stream about that token, which I recommend everybody to take a look if you like the crypto world, which is something
Within
that
the
is.
next few days, because time's running out.
Yeah, well, I take this decision 2 months ago when XRP was like $1, and I doubled, almost triple my Bitcoin position because I sell it really high, and I am not talking one Bitcoin, of course. I am talking just my Bitcoin, quote unquote, not in units, but in satoshis. But seeing how the world goes in terms of the CBDC and that kind of stuff could be a nice project to have something inside that ISO 2022 tokens. So I encourage everyone to make his own research, but it's something that at least you need to be addressed if you are in that paradigm of the crypto market.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I totally agree because Trump's coming back super pro crypto. The U.S. is pulling Bitcoin under their reserve and balance sheets. And we got a super pro crypto SEC replacement that will
Exactly.
step in. Yeah. All right, let's calm down. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna come back streaming. Lots going on. I'm gonna do a private member stream tonight. Show a bunch of behind the scenes kind of inside info that other people haven't seen, haven't released yet. And then I'm building a site that's gonna have all the raw files and videos and documents and live streams and drone footage and contracts and receipts and plane tickets, everything you can imagine, not only to fully verify the trip, but just so that everyone has direct access to it. And I can watch them try to download a 1.45 terabyte file for a single 24-hour footage just to see if they keep that same energy about how it should have already all been available immediately. So anyway, that will all be up. It'll be a pretty pretty cool site. I'm sorry. It'll be a pretty cool site, easy to access, and that should be coming out here soon. And a lot of other stuff coming up. Like the Canastone should be the next couple weeks. Bunch of big podcasts and shows. So jump on my Telegram, t.me/Witsit or Witsit Gets It. I don't know, or Miswits, and also X. Witsit Gets It on X, and I'll try and always post what I got coming up. Did a really good, really interesting podcast with Ashton Forbes, the guy who kind of exposed the Malaysian air flight footage or alleged footage of it disappearing, and I did that on This and That with Josh and Zack. That just dropped, and I've done 4 or 5 different ones. I think I'm supposed to jump on Skiba Nation and a bunch of different podcasts. So stay tuned. I'm going to be pretty busy over the next few months. And yeah, that's about it. All right, anyone else have any other thing they want to throw in real quick?
Nope. Gonna miss Jeran.
Oh yeah.
For
She
sure.
said, "Me too."
Well, but it's going. Yeah. No, it's going to become the return of the Jedi. So we're gonna be waiting. Now we have our Messiah. It's Jeran.
Whoa, you chill out.
Yeah, I
Jesuit
go too far. I
Slayer.
go too far.
Will certainly be
Yeah, I think so
crucified.
too. I think so too. I think a lot of people turned on him, and I'm disappointed in them. And Jaren's my boy, my brother in real life. I always got his back. So, yeah, I think everything will work out. All right, cool. Well, be kind to each other. Don't lie to each other. Speak the truth.
Don't
Or
cry at
seek
each
the
other.
open your mind because there's truth inside. All right, peace out, everybody. Much love.
Peace.
Bye bye.
Peace.
Later, everyone.
Peace.